It is 10:15. Good morning. We only have 8 members of the council present. Would Councilmember Galanter? And Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Burnson, Galanter, Garcetti, Gruel, Hahn, Holden, Labange, Miskowski, Pacheco, Perry, Reyes, Ridley Thomas, Weiss, Sine, Padilla. 10 members present and quorum, Madam President.
All right, the council is now in session, and as our custom on Tuesday, we are going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of inspiration. Ms. Hahn or Ms. Gruel, are you going to introduce our... Okay.
Madam President, colleagues, I'm honored today to introduce a very distinguished woman to lead us in our moment of inspiration, Amanda Suskin. Amanda, first of all, let me begin by congratulating you on your recent appointment to the Anti-Defamation League. Amanda will be serving as the Pacific Southwest Regional Director. Ms. Suskin is an attorney with a background in public policy. She most recently worked at Weston Benchoof, where she practiced environmental law. Prior to that, she was with Gershon, where she served as the city attorney on a contract basis for the cities of Hidden Hills, Agoura Hills, and Diamond Bar. She also served as senior deputy counsel for LA County. Ms. Suskin has worked extensively with the local Jewish community, serving for nearly a decade on the Jewish Federation of Greater Los Angeles Legislative Committee, and for 2 years with the Federation's Jewish Community Relations Committee's Policy Cabinet. I think I can speak for all of us here today as I wish you luck in your new endeavor. The ADL is an excellent organization, and I'm confident that you will serve it well. As one member of the ADL selection committee for the position said, we were looking for someone who could think outside the box, someone who possessed the ability to meet some very critical and unusual challenges, both locally and nationally. It's clear to me that they chose the right person for the job, and they're lucky to have you, Amanda. Thank you for being here today, and my personal note is that Amanda and I have been dear friends for as long as I can remember, and is probably one of the most supportive women I know of really supporting other women as we all attempt to get involved in the governmental process. So, Amanda, inspire us.
Before she does that, Mr. Weiss requested to speak for just a moment.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say that what a great idea to bring Amanda Suskin in here today to do this. Yeah, she's a lawyer. It's about time. And but you know what? She's a lawyer who has dedicated her legal career to serving the public. Even during those periods of time when you have worked in private practice, it has been on behalf of public entities and on behalf of the public interest. And it is so fitting that you take on this extraordinary challenge at this extraordinary institution, a national institution, the Anti-Defamation League, which has built such an incredible presence and operation in Southern California. And you're going to be a leader not just for Southern California, you're going to be a leader for the entire Western United States. And you were the perfect selection. I'm gratified that they picked you, and I'm gratified that someone else with good taste picked you to be here this morning.
Okay, Amanda, please lead us.
Thank you so much, council members and members of the audience. It's a great pleasure. It's my thrill to be here this morning, and I want to thank Councilmember Hahn in particular for that very warm introduction, and Councilmember Jack Weiss, who also serves on our board, for his kind words as well. We live in... Do you want to sit down while we do this? Or?
Well, why don't you lead us first in the pledge?
Let's do the pledge.
All right.
Please put your right hand over your heart and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We live in challenging times, and of course, Los Angeles is a microcosm of the world community. I took this job as the regional director of the Anti-Defamation League. In fact, I sought this job because the ADL is at the forefront of meeting those challenges. We are a civil rights and human relations organization that's been around since 1913, and our mission is to deter and counteract hate-motivated activity. Our original mission statement to secure justice and fair treatment for all citizens alike still compels us 89 years after it was drafted. The League has a phenomenal research and fact-finding division. And in fact, on September 11th, the FBI was in our offices by noon because we are the preeminent monitor of activity of terrorist and extremist groups, from neo-Nazi skinheads to international terrorist groups. The civil rights staff also does a great deal of work dealing with discrimination matters. We file amicus briefs challenging discrimination. We draft model legislation. We'll probably be back to you to talk about legislation on hate crime laws. And together with the Community Service Division, our civil rights group also works very closely with law enforcement, including, of course, LAPD, to handle discrimination complaints and problems. The education programs are among the most amazing programs you'll ever find in an organization such as this. We have programs right now including protecting your child from hate on the internet, the danger of extremism, the national program, A World of Difference. These are all programs geared to value diversity and combat prejudice. And in Los Angeles schools, we also have a program called Children of the Dream, which is a student exchange with Ethiopian Israeli children that come to our schools here and talk about the situation in Israel and combating prejudice and bigotry here in Los Angeles. And again, in Los Angeles only, we have a new program called Dream Dialogue, which brings together children in the LA Unified School District of all different backgrounds and races and cultural identities to work together on a community service project to learn about each other and serve the community at the same time. We're here as a resource to you. We do hate crime teaching for the teachers in LA Unified, and we also do hate crime training for law enforcement. And the best advertisement for our organization is our website. It's very, very accessible. You just go to adl.org. And if you want to see a link that is particularly interactive, go to adl.org/learn, which stands for Law Enforcement Agency Resource Network. You can actually plug in your community, and you will see on that link the terrorist and extremist groups that we are monitoring in your community. The ADL programs are here to serve you, and I look forward to having the opportunity to meet with each of you, to come into your communities and meet with your community leaders, to bring to their attention our programs that are existing, and also to work with them to develop new programs that can meet the particular challenges that they face. As you know, Los Angeles is the most diverse major city on the planet. Interesting note, we went from being the least diverse major city on the planet in 1960 to being the most diverse. And we have an opportunity to lead the world by example. We have an opportunity to demonstrate how unity and tolerance can lift the human spirit. We at ADL are here to work with you in Los Angeles, in the schools, and with your communities to rise to that opportunity. Thank you again for the chance to meet with you and to be here today. I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Ms. Susskind. Mr. Clerk?
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Weiss moves, Ms. Gruhl seconds. Minutes are approved.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Those are approved.
Before starting the regular agenda, there's a couple items to be addressed. Item number 5, a request from Council District 5 to continue this commissioner's appointment one day until July 24th.
Hearing no objection, item 5, the commissioner appointment is continued one day.
Item number 11, at the request of Council District 7, continue this matter until July 30th.
It's a request to continue item 11. Any objections? Hearing none, that is so ordered.
On the regular agenda are appointment of commissioners. Today, item number 4 is the appointment of Yvonne Chan to Commission for Children, Youth, and their Families.
Is Ms. Chan present? Please come forward. Welcome. Members, is there anyone wishing to speak? We have an Arts, Health, and Humanities Committee report recommending the appointment. Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much. This is a very unique individual who will serve this city well. She is in the forefront of the movement of reforming education as the head of the Ron Learning Center in Pacoima. A wonderful story where she came to Los Angeles from China,
Yes.
went to UCLA,
Yes.
and she started up and she's grown in her capacity in Los Angeles Unified. She sought a better way and developed a charter school for the most needed area of Pacoima. I wish our president, Mr. Padilla, was here today because I know he would articulate it even greater than I. But I had the great opportunity to work with Yvonne Chan because she had a few problems out there when I worked for Mayor Reardon and then with Water and Power, and we helped. But this, members of council, all of us should really focus on the great contribution Yvonne Chan could make to children's, youth, and family. But also, each and every one of you should visit Vaughn Learning Center in Pacoima and see the message that she has done in empowering the parents to care greater and get involved with the teachers to uplift the students, to make them rise tall and be able to be very successful. I know this is an outstanding nominee by the mayor. I thank Mayor Hahn for the great nomination here. And I support you and ask everybody to vote positively for Yvonne Chan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. All right, members, we have the committee report before us. Please open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That matter is approved. Ms. Chan, you are confirmed. I don't know if you would like to say anything at this moment to the
I
council.
will do my very best to serve the city.
Thank you very much. Forthwith to the mayor on that matter.
The best way to make change is to mobilize human resources at no dollar cost to the city.
Thank you very much. We'll send that forthwith to the mayor. Next matter, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 6 is the appointment of Dr. Marshall Drummond to the Commission for Children, Youth, and Their Families. There is also an Arts, Health, and Humanities Committee recommendation.
Mr. Drummond, would you please come forward? Members, this is also a recommendation from the Arts, Health, and Humanities Committee recommending confirmation of this appointment. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Mr. Labange, did you wish to speak?
Since no one wants to speak, I know I don't have a pass. They never pass an opportunity to speak, says Al Burton. Thanks for teaching me that, Hal. Mark Drummond has an excellent background in education. He leads our college district as the chancellor, and which is so important for his input to be filtered down to children, youth, and their families, because it's so important to have that great connection. So I strongly recommend him. I only wish they could build a school for children at City College and a golf course, but that's another editorial for another day. But Mark is very committed, very knowledgeable, and extremely resourceful, which is just following Yvonne Chan right there, of using taxpayers' dollars to maximize the good for the people. So I would strongly recommend the approval, and also thank him and thank Mayor Hahn for this nominee.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Gruhl.
I just wanted to similarly stand up in support of Mark Drummond's appointment. We had the pleasure of meeting, I think, before you even started, when I was at DreamWorks, and we were trying to continue to develop a relationship with the community colleges and entertainment industry. And the thing that most impressed me was, one, that you were already rolling up your sleeves before you started, and secondly, that you really were thinking outside the box. And I think we've seen, as you've been the chancellor, have really focused on so many important aspects of our community college system. And it's a sometimes forgotten community college system that we need to continue to focus on. And I think with you serving on the commission, you're going to remind everyone what an important part of the city it is. So I'm just looking forward to working with you and your new role as a commissioner and me as a council member. So nice to see you, and recommend, hopefully, I'm assuming no problem, you'll be adopted today on the commission.
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Hahn.
Thank you, Madam President. I too rise in support of the confirmation of Mark Drummond, and I've also had an opportunity to work with Mark and many of the community colleges in Los Angeles. I was actually on the community selection committee when we were looking for a new president at Harbor College, and I think this is a great appointment. it was a great idea by the mayor to put somebody from our community college on our Commission on Children, Youth, and their Families, because in my opinion, the relationship between our community colleges and the community is the most important relationship. And as chair of the Education and Neighborhoods Committee, while we don't have real jurisdiction over the curriculum of our schools or our colleges, there is certainly a relationship that we need to build between our community colleges and our communities. And I know Harbor College in my district has done such a great job of involving the community in many aspects of what they're doing there. And even in their new expansion plan, they're certainly making room for soccer fields and athletic fields, which I know that the community will be very appreciative of. So this is a great idea, and I support your confirmation.
Chair recognizes Councilmember Ridley Thomas.
Madam President, members of the council, I rise to commend Dr. Drummond for what he has done for the community colleges in the Los Angeles region to date, and to acknowledge support for his confirmation. It seems to me that if we're talking about children, youth, and their families, one of the critical examples of how we strengthen the bond is to point to adults who are providing example for their children by re-entering institutions of learning, in this instance higher education, to essentially model what it means to be a student and to provide the kind of path that is needed. So I think with the involvement of Dr. Drummond on this commission, we could very well be on to a way in which we can cause a clear connection, or a clearer connection to be made between those institutions that can undergird and or nurture family life. And it would seem to me this helps us then to broaden our focus, that is, to deepen our perspective with respect to what it takes to make communities what they ought to be. It is my own view that we spend a considerable amount of time on the matter of public education as it relates to K through 12, and sometimes we even skip beyond that and go to institutions of higher education, the UC system, the Cal State University system, and somehow we fail to remember that there's a community college system that provides an extensive network of support and value to the community at large. And so I think with your involvement, Dr. Drummond, this can help us bridge the gap in a way that will be beneficial to children, youth, and indeed their families. So we commend you, and I rise to support this nomination.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Holden.
Dr. Drummond, you're a busy man, aren't you? Being chancellor of the junior colleges, kind of Los Angeles, basically. What about their budget over there? They got a shortfall, or how is the state's budget affecting your budget? Because I'm asking you this because that's a big job, I know. And the board members are aware that you were asking for this position and asked to serve, and that you were accepted. And you have the time that's going to be required in order to do this. Should there be a conflict in scheduling, you may have to go to Sacramento at a time when they're meeting here. This is a very important commission, and I know you can contribute to the betterment of this commission. Because all your vast experience in technology and computers and East Washington University, and the fact that you were president of the college, and you also in charge of finances, you have the experience, and that's why you're selected for the job you now have. My only concern is with the junior colleges being in the situation they are today, can you take the time away for this commission assignment? Yeah.
Well, I could, perhaps I could address that when I make my other comments, but I realize that this is a very serious commission with great responsibilities, and I also realize this community, while there are many, many success stories, has a long ways to go to do what it should be doing to serve all of its citizens, from the newest comer to the one that's been here the longest. I think my Board of Trustees understands that. I think they understand that our colleges are truly community-based organizations, and frankly, there's a real blurring of the work that we should be doing with the work that this commission's doing, and I will do my very best to see that I don't short either end of the equation.
Okay, I'm sure you, with your vast background and experience, that you can contribute to the success of the commission as an outreach program for parents who have students who eventually, hopefully, will come into the junior colleges and also go on beyond there. I went to LACCC many, many years ago, so I know how valuable that institution is for our communities. I, like Tom LeBon, would have hoped that you would have agreed to allow a high school to be built there in response to the community's need, rather than a golf driving range. This is something that was considered 12, 13 years ago when I first got elected. Needed another high school space. Why not LACCC, where the bungalows are and the open space there? And they could merge the same as when you had a junior college, and Cal State LA was there on that campus. I don't know if you knew that. All right? So we could have had the same kind of a relationship. But it didn't happen that way, and welcome aboard, and I'm going to vote for you.
Thank you. That is the last speaker. We now have the matter before us as recommended by Arts, Health, and Humanities Committee. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That matter is approved. You are confirmed. Thank you. And we will send that forthwith to the mayor. Next item.
Item number 7 is the appointment of Deborah Dentler to the Board of Directors, Metropolitan Water District.
Is Ms. Dentler available? Would you please come forward? We have a communication from the mayor on this matter. No committee report. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Anyone who wants to make a motion? Ms. Hahn moves. Mr. LeBon seconds. Members, the matter is before us. Seeing no one wishing to speak, please open the roll. Oh, excuse me, we do have a public speaker. I'm sorry, there is a public comment card. Let me call Mr. Faramaz Nabani.
Hi, yes. My name is Faramaz Nabavi. I'm a resident of the city of Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley, and I'm a conservation chair for one of the local Sierra Club groups. And I wish to speak on the appointment of Deborah Dentler to the Metropolitan Water District representing the city of Los Angeles. It's my understanding that currently the City of Los Angeles has 4 representatives on the Metropolitan Water Board. We are interested in Deborah Dentler's appointment because there's a major issue before the Metropolitan Water District on a proposed project known as the Cadiz project. It is my understanding that the outgoing Metropolitan Water Board member George Wine has indicated some concerns with regard to this project, and so we wish to make sure that both Deborah Dentler as well as the other Metropolitan Water Board members representing the City of Los Angeles know about residents' concerns about this project, about the potential problems that are faced environmentally as well as economically to us as consumers. consumers by the opening to water privatization. I'd like to note that right now, the Metropolitan Water Board, of the 4 members, only one is an LA City resident, and that happens to be George Wine. However, Deborah Dentler also has a very distinguished record herself, serving people in the city of Los Angeles as a legal aid attorney. So I do not feel that that particular issue is necessarily of concern. However, we do wish to make sure that she and the city council are aware of the grave concerns that people have about the Cadiz project. And for those of you who don't know, the Cadiz project would essentially place the city of Los Angeles and residents across Southern California at a distinct disadvantage if water rates rise during a shortfall, much like the electricity crisis we experienced last year. Fortunately, we as LA City residents were insulated from that because of Department of Water and Power. However, DWP purchases over a third of its water from the Metropolitan, so anything that happens to Metropolitan's water affects us as well. Therefore, I'd like this to be entered into the public record, that all appointments to the Metropolitan Water Board and all directors representing the city of Los Angeles should be aware of this issue and represent concerns of LA City residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is the final speaker who asked to speak on this matter. We have a motion from Ms. Hahn and seconded by Mr. Labange to confirm this appointment. Ms. Dentler, did you want to address the council? I'm sorry, yes, Mr. Holden, you did push your button. Let me call Mr. Holden.
It says here that you live in Glendale.
I do, Councilman.
How long have you lived in Glendale?
Pardon me?
How long have you been living in Glendale?
We moved just over the border from Silver Lake into Glendale in 1989. I am also a small business owner.
I just asked you a question. Yeah. You've been living in Glendale for almost 13 years.
Since 1989.
1889. That's 99 is 10 plus 2 is 12. All right. Yeah. So you've been over there about 12 years.
I have.
What's your connection to the city of Los Angeles?
I'm a small business owner and operator. I am a consultant and grant writer to nonprofit organizations with my business partner, who's a resident of Silver Lake, and he and I together I have a small part-time grant writing firm. I'm an attorney. I work out of my home in Glendale, representing indigent families, parents and children caught up in the foster care system. I spent the bulk of my professional career working here in Los Angeles.
As my time runs, just keep on talking, it's all right. Go ahead.
My roots are here in Los Angeles professionally, and as a small business person, I still do retain a very active interest in the business climate in Los Angeles.
Now, you live in Glendale. You committed, you pay taxes there, and you have children in Glendale.
My children were born in Los Angeles, and they're being raised in Glendale.
They're raised in Glendale. Now, we have a little problem with Glendale sometimes. We have to charge them a fee for sewer service charges, water, we supply all this. Should there ever be a conflict where Glendale wants something and we want something, how are you going to resolve that?
Councilman, the Metropolitan Water District Board is a regional board, and I'm delighted to have the mayor and hopefully City Council's confidence that I'll do a good, careful job researching and weighing all the issues that come before the Met Board. Were there any significant conflicts or concerns about possible impropriety in any particular matter that comes before the board concerning Glendale? The mere happenstance of where my address is, I don't know, would dictate.
I care about L.A. I live here, and it happened to be my address, not a happenstance.
Of course. I'm saying if the happenstance of my residence address were to pose any problem or potential conflict, then of course I would have to, after seeking advice from the Ethics Commission, I understand that there would be a possibility of recusing myself. I don't know or anticipate any such things coming up. I think people have served with distinction on this board from a variety of residential addresses, so I look forward to doing the same good job.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilmember Labange.
Thank you very much, Madam President, members of the council. I rise to support the nominee, Ms. Detler, and understanding metropolitan water in the history of Los Angeles, and that our own water and power years ago under William Mulholland formed MWD, which helped build the Great Boulder, now Hoover Dam, and all the other issues. And it was great to see the public speaker from the Sierra Club come and voice his concern. I think it's very important that all of our appointees have an ear to what everyone is saying, so we make the best and balanced decisions as you represent the interests of Los Angeles. Thank you for serving, and I ask for an aye vote.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Burnson.
Yes, I just want to rise. I don't think the address makes that much difference. The main thing is the quality of the representative, and I'm sure the mayor has chosen carefully, and that you will represent our region. I would remind some of the members of the council that even though we don't use a lot of the Metropolitan Water District water, we have a 23% entitlement, of which I think sometimes we've used up to about 10%. And I think that's the most we've used even in some of the drought years. But we do want to make sure that our interests there and our entitlements are protected. And I'm sure that you will do that, and I'm happy to join in your approval.
Thank you, Councilman.
That concludes the speakers. The matter is now before us on a motion by Ms. Hahn. Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That matter is approved. You are confirmed. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Thank you, and we will send that forthwith to the mayor. The chair also now at this time recognizes Councilmember Zine for an introduction.
Thank you, Madam Chair and colleagues. I'd like to introduce some visiting dignitaries, some visiting businessmen. As you please step to the speaking area, just so I can introduce you, gentlemen. Mr. Dean Leavenworth from Time Warner has brought some businessmen from the Republic of South Korea. They're visiting my district in the city of Los Angeles to meet with Time Warner and some of the studios in the Los Angeles area to discuss digital, cable, and other entertainment industry issues. I would like to ask them to rise, officially welcome them to the city of Los Angeles, and Mr. Bong Jin Kim is going to make a statement, but I will introduce the gentleman behind you as we see them come forward. Mr. Dae Kwan Kang, Mr. Song Un Hwang, Mr. Bong Jin Kim, who will be speaking, Ms. Mi Li Lee, Ms. Yu Sung Kim, Mr. Kung Hung Woo, Mr. Young Soon Choi, and Mr. Ron Lee. Those are representatives from South Korea. We welcome you to Los Angeles. And Mr. Kim, you have a statement to make?
My name is Bong Kim. On behalf of our Korean delegation, we appreciate your great hospitality. We just arrived last night, and definitely we're staying in the Korean town, try to support local economy a little bit. We believe our trip will be a very fruitful one, where we'll be meeting with Time Warner Cable later this afternoon and other various businesses. We thank you very much again. Thank you.
Kamsahamnida. Kamsahamnida. From my friend Tom Labange, who speaks some fluent Korean. Thank you very, very much. And have an enjoyable time in Los Angeles.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zine. Welcome. Mr. Clerk?
Items numbers 1 through 3 on the regular agenda are items noticed for public hearing. A motion is required on item number 3 inasmuch as there's 2 reports on 1 file.
There are cards on item 3, so we will call item 3 special. There are no cards on item number 1 or 2. So is there anyone here who wishes to speak on item 1 or 2? Seeing no one come forward. Pardon me, we're going to call Mr. Garcetti is asking that...
Can we continue number 2 for 2 weeks, please?
We're going to... There's a request to continue number 2 for 2 weeks. If there's no objection, that would be the order.
That'd be August 6th.
August 6th. Item 1 is before us.
The recommendation on item 1 is to continue the hearing on ordinance to August 6, 2002.
All right, that is the recommendation to continue the protest hearing until August 6th. That matter is before us. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved.
Items numbers 8 through 15, with the exception of 11, which has been acted on, are items for which public hearings have been held.
Are there any members who would like to call items 8 through 15, any items 8 through 15 special? We do have a card on item 8, but it is a recommendation for approval in agreement with the recommendation of the committee. So item 15 is called special by both Mr. Zine and Ms. Hahn. Double special. Any others?
Madam President, item number 12 is a Commerce, Energy, and Natural Resources Committee report is to be submitted, and I understand the committee is still in session. Did you wish to hold that on the desk?
Let's hold item 12 on the desk until the committee members come to council. All right. With those exceptions of those held or called special, what is before us?
So now you have items numbers 8 through 15 with the exception of 11, 12, and 15.
Madam Clerk, please open the roll on those matters. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those matters are approved.
Items numbers 16 through 42 on the regular agenda are items for which public hearings have not been held. There are amending motions that have been distributed on 37 and 38 and a substitute motion on 42.
All right. Does anyone, we do have cards on item number 25, so we will call that special, and on item 41, so we will call that special. Let me first ask, is there any member of the public who would like to speak on any of those other matters? Seeing none, then members of the council, any specials?
26, please.
26, Mr. Reyes?
23.
23 for Ms. Hahn. 22 for Mr. Zine.
38, please.
38, Mr. Reyes. And Mr. Holden?
Continue 32 into Friday, and 35D, simple technical amendment, if it's appropriate, to say that the market shall be held on Saturday instead of on Friday.
All right. Item 32 is recommended for continuance till Friday. If there's no objection, that will be the order on that matter. That was through item 42, Mr. Chair. Which, Mr. Clerk?
Pardon me, I missed that.
What numbers were we going up through?
We're going from 16 through 43.
All right, then I would like to call 42 and 43 special as well.
All right, I wanted to too.
Okay, those matters are now before us, other than those called special and for public comment. Please open the roll.
Wait.
I'm sorry.
I did say 35D to be...
35D, the clerk had also indicated there were some amendments, technical amendments on these other motions. Those will be included in the vote, including 35D, the technical amendment.
Thank you, so it's done.
All right, again, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those matters are approved. Forthwith on 41, that matters forthwith on item 41.
Madam President, the first special item before you is item number 3. I believe you have cards on that?
We do have cards. There are 2 committee reports, but members, we have 2 cards, so let us move a 5-minute public hearing, and then I would like to have the Building and Safety and City Attorney staff come forward and present the case. Let me first call Mr. Mort Allen to speak, and then after him, Mr. Ed Dotto.
Good morning. My name is Mort Allen. I am not speaking for any company. I'm speaking strictly for our committee and the issues here. And I want to start by saying that a friend of mine came in from New York this last weekend, flew in. She flew in just to see the new Grove Shopping Center. And we went there, and I got to tell you, it's fabulous. It is the most fabulous thing in the world. We left there. We came from the airport, drove through, got back to my house. She said to me, "What's happened? The LA's been raped by billboards in the last year." And I didn't realize how many of them had been built in the last year around that Grove area, around La Cienega, Fairfax, and all that. And then we went around the rest of the city, and it isn't bad. It's that one area, though, all these new billboards. Okay, so now we have this ordinance coming through, which has not gone to the ad hoc sign committee, and I don't know why. We were supposed to have had a meeting this morning. It was postponed. It's coming to council. But I just want to say this is a setup for a lawsuit, and it's going to be another lawsuit. I understand the city's lost almost every lawsuit they've done. You paid $1 million to Van Wagner. They lost the Valuecom one last week. And instead of addressing the issue right now of the illegal billboards that have been built the last couple of years, you're doing this. But as far as the fee, I want you all to understand, if you read it, it's a periodic inspection fee over 4 years. So it's going to take 4 years. So their new figure is $314, but they're going to charge the companies $1,256 to inspect a billboard because they're going to do it once in 4 years. Now, I called around. There are these independent companies, which almost every small city in the state has independent building departments. And the average fee when I called them would be something around $40 or $50. So I believe for you to now give the Building and Safety Department $1,256 to build billboards that they are legally allowed to get built, because they all have permits, but they've all been modified by either a council office or the mayor's office. Somebody's called and gotten a modification, but they all have permits, but they're illegal. They're overbuilt. So we need to get an RFP out there and get somebody that's independent third party to go out there and inspect them. We need to have it done. But you can't just get the building department. And the rumor I hear is, and I don't know if it's true or not, is that building department's trying to buy Fig Plaza and they need a big down payment on the building, and this is where the money is going to come from.
All
but
right.
to collect $1,256 per billboard, no, this is what I understand from the building owner.
Mr. Norton, I'm going to ask you to conclude, please.
Okay, I will conclude. Okay, I think to go and do this, all you're doing is opening up the door for another lawsuit. It's going to be tied up for 3 years, and we're going to have these horrible billboards.
All right.
We've got to do something to get it resolved now, and you should sit down with the companies and not do this backroom kind of deal.
Thank you for your testimony. Next speaker is Ed Daho. After Mr. Dotto, that closes the public hearing. Sir?
Councilman Margaret Lee Thomas. My name is Ed Dotto. I'm with Clear Channel Outdoor. I have a statement and I have a question. My statement is that I disagree with the CAO's report, although I have not seen the full report. It's the 314 or 312 or 313, whatever it happens to be, is a joke. Cannot take as much time as they are claiming. My question is that the state of California, when they increase fees, they send, I'm told this, I have not seen this personally, but I have been told that they will send those fees and the regulations that are being enforced to administrative law, and that they look at those thoroughly before they approve such increase in fees. I would like to know if the City of Los Angeles has such a procedure, that rather than get into a lawsuit to determine and let the courts determine what the fee is to be, I'd like to know if there's a administrative method of doing it.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Dotto.
Thank you.
We'll seek to get you answers to those questions as best as we can. That closes the public hearing on the matter. Members of the council, there are 4 people who wish to be heard. It seems to me, though, that clarification from the appropriate staff may be in order. And if there is such a staff person here, would you please come forward? You heard the question posed by Mr. Dotto, and I think it would be illuminating to the council as a whole, so that if we were to begin with that, we would follow with the speakers list as it is posted. Mr. Burnson, Mr. Weiss, Ms. Misakowski, Mr. Reyes, in that order. Mr. Keim, do you wish to respond to the question before us?
All I can tell you, council members, is that the CAO has conducted a fee analysis, and I believe that report is before you.
All right. Mr. Burnson.
Okay, we had two differences of opinion on this between the planning department and the finance committee, but I don't have a real problem with the finance report after talking to Mr. Weiss. I understand that there's going to be some adjustments made 6 months. My only thought in our report was that we should rebate some of the fees and fines back to the people who do obey the law. I understand there's some legal questions. I haven't heard that from the city attorney, but Mr. Weiss is a lawyer. And he told me the city attorney said there may be some legal problems. So we want to avoid any potential legal problems. And so I'm going to support, I will support A rather than B, and I think we're headed in the same direction on that. And I think that this is a move that will put us in a position to maybe take control and of the billboard blighted areas in our city, and to give us the ability to do some enforcement. So I would move, I know you were going to move A, but I'll move it for you. How's that?
All right. A has been moved. Mr. Weiss is now before us for the first time. Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much, Mr. Burnson, for that motion and for the discussion you and I just had. I would additionally like to move an amended ordinance, which I think the clerk has, and the purpose of the amended ordinance is to incorporate the work of the CAO's office in terms of calculating the total amount that they believe this program will cost, and then dividing out of that the total amount of the fee. So the net, and Ms. Hahn, as you remember, we had a discussion at Budget and Finance, and the discussion was, let CAO kick the tires on the proposal from Building and Safety, which I think was a sound proposal, and no one has any serious questions about it. CAO said, well, perhaps it could be done in a more streamlined manner, and so let's go with the CAO recommendation to do it in a more streamlined manner. Let's get the program started along those lines, and then after 6 months, and then after 1 year, we'll have the opportunity to review the program, to review the fees coming in, and decide, well, do we have enough inspectors to do the job? Do we need more? Or are we so over-endowed in terms of the program that perhaps we need to cut the fee even more? We'll have the chance to do that. We'll watchdog it. I know everyone on the council will watchdog it with me, and we'll make certain that the fee is only the fee necessary to do the program, nothing more. That's always been the intent of this program, and therefore it will be pay-as-you-go, but it won't be punitive in any way, and it'll get us started. So that's the motion I'd make would be to move this amended ordinance and to join Mr. Burnson in moving the Budget and Finance report. I should note that the only substantive difference, I believe, or the significant substantive difference between the Budget and Finance report and the Plum report was Mr. Burnson's addenda, his amendment, his errata, his idea. Thank you, colleagues.
I might mention just for the record that this changes the fee slightly and the date slightly.
And it moves the operative date back so that we can calculate a year in a meaningful way rather than starting in midstream. Yeah.
Right.
All right. The chair now recognizes Ms. Miskowski. Thank you, Mr. Weiss, for your motion. And
this is beginning to sound like a chorus. I support what Mr. Burnson said and Mr. Weiss, particularly the amendment. And I think that what the CAO has done is help clarify it. As was indicated, this is a revised fee, and it's a revised fee downward, where the CAO looked at the initial analysis done by Building and Safety and said that this fee could be lower, and in paying attention to the concern that Mr. Burnson indicated, that this is just a one-time, one-year fee with an expectation that next year, after we see how it works, if we see how the inspectors have gone out there and we see the level of compliance or not, we are able to make an appropriate adjustment next year, and any unspent monies this year go towards reduction of the fee next year. And during that time, when we look at reducing the fee, we can also look at perhaps some kind of breakdown with those who have already gone through a first inspection and passed muster, and create perhaps a differential after we have a little more experience and knowledge behind us with inspection. Members, this has been part of an important element of the billboard programs that the City of Los Angeles has been putting forward. Not only talking about where and if and how we should limit billboards in the future or make places for them to be available in specific plans and overlay districts, but also saying that we've had a great sense that some of the billboards that are out there may not be legally permitted. That is the impression that people have, that is even the communication that we have from some of the billboard industries saying we have good billboards, but we know there are others out there who might not. This is actually giving us the opportunity to test that theory. We have talked an awful lot about a billboard reduction ordinance, and I think when we find billboards that are not permitted, as Mr. Brinson has always said, we should test the law. That when someone has gone and erected a board that may be there that has no legal authority, I think this city should take a stand to say that that billboard ought not to be there. But this gives us the tools to go out and inspect, to create the kind of process that we need for those billboards that are out there in the city. And I am pleased that I think with the addition of the CAO report, we have brought the two recommendations from the Planning and Land Use Management Committee and the Budget and Finance Committee closer together, so that with the amendment that Mr. Weiss is suggesting, the fee will be lower than originally planned. We will have the process to review it, and the potential to review it in 6 months and make the adjustment that Mr. Brinson and the Plum Committee added. And it's time to move forward, get this in process so that we have that body of knowledge, that body of information that these inspectors will be able to bring forward. I would also like to point out to Mr. Zine that included in the CAO recommendation as part of this motion is the unfreeze for all these positions that that will be needed to go ahead and enforce this program by this fee-related structure, and I would like to move the council move forward on this.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes, Ms. Hahn, and Mr. Weiss for a second time.
Thank you, Council President, colleagues. As Chair of Planning, Land Use and Management, I strongly feel we've been able to come to a point where it's looking closer and closer like we're all on the same page here. But I do have one concern. I would like to have the CAO come in contact with, discuss the issues of personnel, building, and safety, since they're the department that's going to do the work. What bothers me is that CAO has made this recommendation. My understanding is CAO did not even bother to speak with Building and Safety Department to talk about the functions and issues of time. If this study is going to be of any substance, it should be engaging the Building and Safety Department to understand what it takes to do this job. The other issue that I would like to commit and put forth as a friendly amendment is to look at the issue of how it is we look at billboards and working with nonprofits, strategic locations where they're near playgrounds, they're near areas in which council members, neighborhood councils, community groups feel comfortable having the presence there of a billboard. I understand the eradication of blight. Yes, that is an objective of the city, of the representatives here. But it's also understand it's be strategic in how we look at billboards as an economic development tool, especially in those areas that are hurting for resources, especially those neighborhoods that don't have an abundance of resources, that can look at billboards as strategic locations for supporting nonprofits, social services, and the like, and have an ear for that perspective as we go through our evaluations. So I'd like to make that as a friendly amendment. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Reyes. The chair now recognizes Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'm joining the chorus that Councilwoman Miskowski spoke of. As you noticed from the Budget and Finance report, I actually was one of the members that voted no on this. Because there was two issues that I was concerned about. One was the discrepancy in the fee structure. There was a Cosmont report that came out that really the numbers were very different than what we were saying it would take to complete this first year's inspection. And the second issue that I had a concern was, what would we do if we found, since this is a fee for service, if we found out that at the end of the first year we had charged too much, and there was discussion about crediting it to the next year, there was some discussion about refunding it, and there was discussion about then we would come back and look to lower the fee. I must say, I'm very pleased with where we got to today. This is one of the ordinances, since I've been here a year, I feel most comfortable with, because I don't ever remember us having an ordinance where we had the flexibility after our first year to really either reduce the fee, rebate the fee, or credit it forward to the next year. So I think a lot of my concerns have been addressed. I would hope that we could support the friendly amendments by Councilmember Reyes. And I know the other issue was, certainly we're in a big problem in Los Angeles with billboards. Certainly my district has many, what I'm convinced are illegally placed billboards. And there was an issue of, we're treating everybody the same. And at the end of the inspection, when we find out those billboard companies who have complied and who have followed the rules and who have been honest vendors here in our city, would there be a way to treat them differently than those who we find have been in complete violation of our rules? So that was one of the other concerns. I don't know if we're really having an opportunity to address that, but that's something I think many of us would like to have. Maybe we put a big gold star on all the billboards that were legal, so all could know. Anyway, so I can support this today.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Weiss.
I just wanted to thank Ms. Hahn for stating that she felt comfortable with my ordinance, because I feel comfortable with your ordinances too. I just want you to know
Mr. Weiss,
that.
may I suggest that you have this conversation with Mrs. Hahn at her place of work?
I also want to note that I appreciate my friend Dennis Zine.
Give him a hug.
Because what Mr. Zine has done is he's waived out of Personnel Committee consideration of the positions that are needed to actually go out and do the work, because Mr. Zine believes we need to get started and get the work done. So all that is left is for the Budget and Finance Committee to pass the matter out. The matter has no fiscal impact by definition, so hopefully we'll have that here within a short number of days so we can vote on it. And I want to thank Mr. Reyes for being so kind and helping expedite this matter as well. Thank you, Mr. President.
Much love, Mr. Weiss. Chair recognizes Mr. Zine.
Thank you, my lovely colleague, Jack Weiss, for the love you're spreading today on this wonderful Tuesday. I just asked from Building Safety, once we have this passed, how long is it going to take to gear up for the personnel that you've requested? We've given the waiver through the Personnel Committee to get that moving forward. What delay are we going to see? Or are we going to see any delay? Or are you going to backfill? What are you going to do?
Yeah, the motion would include that's going before Budget and Finance not only includes the unfreeze, but of course the position authority itself, backfill authority as well. We're going to have to go through a hiring process, a promotional process for a number of the positions. We have to purchase equipment. We have to seek out and implement a database to collect all the data into. There's a number of things we'll have to do, Councilman. We're going to as soon as we get the final approval on the positions, we're going to go forward as fast as we possibly can. But realistically, we're looking at several months at best before we have this program implemented, and even then it just may be partially. But we'll move it as forward as fast as we can, given the limitations of the civil service hiring process, et cetera.
So there could be a long delay if you're talking about equipment and hiring. Is there a way you could use existing personnel to divert them to that? Would that work?
Well, we're going to do a combination of those two things in order to expedite the process. We're not going to put all new staff in these positions. We're going to do a combination of experienced veteran staff as well as new hires from the street, so that there'll be some balance there. One of the things that will hinder us, and I just need to say for the record, that Councilman Reyes brought out, is the CAO report does recommend cuts to our original proposal of some what we believe to be very crucial management positions for the successful implementation and operation and the accountability factor that this program is going to have. So that's going to make it tougher without those management positions, and I just needed to note that for the record.
I understand that. My concern is that the worker bee can get out there and do the job, and I understand what management's responsible for, but the ones who are going to actually do the inspections, tag those, note those numbers, locations, et cetera, are the workers, and the managers are going to do what the managers do. The concern I have is that we get the workers out there to start doing that. Obviously, it has to be administered and coordinated, and since we're giving you a green light on it, we hope that we get this done in an expeditious manner, not drag it on for another year.
Exactly. Part of the reason for the extension of the date of the collection of the fee from July to October is to account for that lag time that we've had so far in getting the final fee package approved in the personnel package. But I assure you, once we have the final green light here from Budget and Finance and Council, we will move forward as expeditiously as we possibly can. We'll move very aggressively to hire those staff and transfer existing staff into the program.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. All right, that concludes the list of speakers that is before us. Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, you have a motion on the desk to approve the Budget and Finance report as amended with a new ordinance that has been submitted today in Council, and receive and file the Plum report. Also, there is an amendment by Mr. Reyes that it was accepted to look at billboards for nonprofits, how they're located, the information provided by these billboards when evaluating within the city's analysis.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Members, the matter is before us as amended. Mr. Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, now tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you very much. Let's proceed briskly to the next item of business. Members, there are a few time-sensitive matters, the first of which is I want to make sure that at the request of Mrs. Padilla that item number 39 goes forthwith. If there's no exception, that will be the order. Mr. Clerk, now the other time-sensitive matters.
Item number 12, we were holding that on the desk until the Commerce, Energy, and Natural Resources Committee presented the report. The report has been submitted and has been distributed.
I'll get it. All right. If there's no objection, we will proceed to take up item number 12. All right. Are we ready to proceed, Mr. Clerk?
You are.
All right. Please open the roll. Close the roll. Now tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, the next item.
Forthwith, please.
Forthwith on item number 41.
Mr. President, I understand that
12.
I understand that item number 41, you wish to take that out of order.
All right. The item is a time-sensitive matter similar to the one raised on item number 12, Mr. Clerk. If there's no objection, we will proceed to item 41, and then item 26, as there are persons from MTA waiting to have this matter disposed of. So item number 41 is before us.
There has not been a public hearing on this, and I understand there are members of the public who wish to be heard.
Mr. Reyes? There's one card on this item. Mr. Reyes, do you wish to be heard?
Yes, that's right. On 41, there is an amending motion that we need to include.
All right. Mr. Green, can we incorporate your remarks and the public comment section on the agenda? And so that we can proceed, we thank you for your courtesy, sir. That closes the public hearing. Mr. Reyes.
Yes, I'd like to correct that there is no amending motion. This is move forward on 41. Thank you.
All right. I'll open the roll on 41. Please close the roll. Now tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, what's before us?
Item number 26, the request to take that out of order. Do you also want 41 to go forthwith?
Forthwith, per the request of Mr. Reyes. Item number 26 is before us. Mr. Burnson, do you wish to be heard?
Yes, Mr. President, members of the council, this is a reply to express the city's position and comments relative to the sector program which has been proposed by the MTA board. There are a number of things that the city is concerned about which have not been determined yet. The two big things basically are the boundaries, which need to be resolved satisfactorily, and secondly, which is still to be determined, are the makeup of the boards. And those things are items which will be debated at MTA, and I assure you that I will represent the city's position there, as will the mayor and our other two representatives. But other than that, I think that this is ready for approval. I know Mr. Reyes has some concerns about the boundaries. I, too, have some concerns about them. We will be negotiating and debating these items before they're approved before the board, and we'll have every opportunity to present the city's position. So I would urge an aye vote on this. I think it's pretty much simple, ready to go. There's nothing firm in place other than the fact that this is simply our comments, how we think these things should be resolved.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burnson. Mr. Reyes.
I just want to thank Mr. Burnson for his stewardship. As he has mentioned, did have concerns with boundaries. Looks like they're being reshaped to address our concerns. And also just the notion that that the representation is proportional to the share of ridership and how we support the system. And I'm sure Mr. Burnson will be there to allow for our proportional representation to be on the board, given the fact that the City of LA does sustain and provide the lion's share of ridership and concerns that deal with quality of life issues that pertains to transportation. So with that, I urge an aye vote. Thank you.
We thank you, Mr. Reyes. That closes the debate on the matter. Members of the council, we see no other person wishing to be heard. Mr. Clerk, please open the roll on item 26, pursuant to Mr. Brunson's motion. Close the roll. Please tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. Does there need to be forthwith on that, Mr. Burnson? At the request of Mr. Burnson, please send that forthwith. Thank you. Next item, Mr. Clerk, Mr. Padilla.
Item number 15 is an item for which public hearing has been held. It was called special by Councilmember Hahn and Zine.
All right. There's been a request, Ms. Zakowski. Is there a request that you wish to make? Chair recognizes Ms. Zakowski.
Yes, I would like to take item 42 and 43 up at this time. This also is a time-sensitive matter, and we have the mayor's office here as well to help present the case.
All right. Mr. Clerk, you've heard the request from one of the members. Is there any objection on the floor to Ms. Zakowski's request? Seeing none, we'll proceed to item number 42. 42.
Thank you.
There is a substitute motion that has been distributed on this matter.
There's a resolution that has been submitted. What we have on item 42, members of the council, is a communication from the mayor calling to our attention that on Thursday, the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors will be considering the matter of placing on the ballot the special reorganization issue that, as we know it, on secession. This is dealing with the San Fernando Valley portion. What the mayor has asked is that the council consider requesting the Board of Supervisors in the ballot question itself to have the ballot question fully inform the voting public. We have seen a draft of the question, and it does not include the issue of something that to make the proposal viable, the mitigation payment that LAFCO has set forward of $127 million must be paid, ratcheted down every year by 5%. But that, at least preliminarily, is not in the ballot question as it will be presented to the voters. We believe that as a matter of full disclosure, informing the community that is going to be voting on this, that they ought to know the issues. And so we are asking that the Board of Supervisors fully disclose in the ballot question per some language that is part of the resolution that has been circulated, the question just identifying this payment and understanding that it is an obligation that the new city would have to pay, and the voters should be made aware of that as they consider this matter. I would like to turn now to Mr. McCosker from the mayor's office and Mr. Merkin from the city attorney's office, who have further researched this and will present the matter to the council.
President and members of the council, Tim McCosker for the mayor's office, thank you very much. And Fred Merkin is with me today to answer any questions you may have.
That could be dangerous. Greetings, Mr. Merkin.
If I may summarize then, sir. On Thursday, as the councilwoman indicated, on Thursday, the board will have its first opportunity following the protest hearing to call the election. And at that time, the Board of Supervisors will then, if the protest is not upheld, will have the opportunity to call the election and also set the question for the ballot. And our office, working with the council office and working with the city attorney's office, has come to the conclusion that, in fact, the ballot question must include the statement of the mitigation payment, which, as the council member indicated, is $127 million annually, decreased by 5% over 20 years. While it is good government to fully disclose the mitigation payment to the voters in this election, it is more than good government that should prevail here. In fact, we believe it is a legal obligation for the county to place this on. So the city attorney's office has worked with the council office, and you do have a resolution before you. Well, we would make this the position of the city, which would be then presented by the mayor's office and the city attorney's office at that board meeting. We would ask for support of the resolution.
All right, thank you very much. See no members wishing to be heard, which gives indication to me that we are ready to vote. Do you wish to be heard on this, or do you wish to acknowledge the speaker?
Yes, Mr. President. Were you saying that you're going to include in the ballot the amounts of revenue that the city that's going to leave the valley will have to pay the city of Los Angeles? You said
yes.
And how much will that be?
It is $127 million in the first year. Payments are made annually. They are increased by CPI, but decreased by 5% over 20 years, amortized to zero in 20 years.
My concern is why they have to pay us anything if, for an example, they're contributing more to the city from the standpoint of a tax base today, and then we should be paying them. Don't you think so, if they're contributing more? But if they have to pay us, it means that in some way, to me, we are subsidizing. We may be subsidizing some of the services that they have, that they're receiving. Doesn't that sound, something is funny with this formula?
There is something basically wrong, Mr. Holden. The problem is that if you look at what the cost of running the remaining city, they actually should be paying us more than $127 million. It's closer to $300 million. And that has to do with the fact that when you split the city the way they're discussing, as we've discussed before the council before, the remaining city does not have enough money, revenues coming, to continue services at the same level. However, in the LAFCO's interpretation of state law, what they did is look at it, in my view, very narrowly, and only looked at, if you add up the revenue and divide the cost of service based on population and area, that it's $127 million. The fact of the matter is we have done internally studies and an external study to demonstrate that number is grossly underestimated, one. Two, another reason to have it on the ballot is that in other cities in which there has been these incorporations, the city that gets formed somehow is the citizens and the newly elected officials seem to not have been notified of this problem they have of paying, and what ensues is a court battle over whether or not that payment will be made. So the remaining city of Los Angeles faces two problems. One is that the amount of money is inadequate in the first place, and in the second place, at least if it's on the ballot, people can see how much money they're talking about, and it's clear. And we'll have something to go back. That's exactly what is voted on.
Mr. President, members, I think that the Valley would have a ground for a legal challenge to that amount of money that you're asking. You're asking the Valley to pay the city for services that they're not receiving. I don't see how that makes sense. Therefore, then they're subsidizing the city, if they're leaving there in the city. Seems to me, at least, that if they have to pay us some money, then, of course, it's for services that they're receiving, not for services that they're not receiving. And it doesn't make much sense. I don't think the law was intended to be that way at all when the local government approved.
Well, actually, Mr. Holden, that was the laws passed in the 70s. I believe that there was a state senator that was there at that point in time, and that was the way...
No, I was there.
I may be wrong on that, but I think that was the case.
Mr. Knox was the author of the bill, and I'm very familiar with it, and that was not the legislative intent at all. So this is all mixed up. You can expect lawsuits on both sides. It's inevitable. It should not be an entrapment.
Right, but I understand lawsuits are for losers, Mr. Holden.
We want to be clear, the $127 million is the LAFCO number. It is not the city's number. This body suggested that the number is closer to $266 million.
And what is that number for? Is it for services that we're going to be providing them?
It was because the state statute provides that no harm will come to the remaining city, and the formula that LAFCO applied came up with a number which is dramatically low, that is $127 million.
Be held harmless. But you are providing services to the valley, is that correct? And if so, what services will you continue to provide for them?
The LAFCO proposal provides that all services will be provided to the valley.
Well, so they'll be paying for services rendered.
In addition to this payment, they will be paying for all services rendered.
They'll be paying for services, then in addition to services rendered, they'll be paying this amount?
That is right. That's
how much for services rendered? What was that discussed to be?
There is no, the LAFCO proposal, all it did was divide.
Does it include services?
It didn't, Mr. Holden. They did not do a review of that. What they did was...
They should have.
I agree with that, too. And that was the point we tried to make. So what they did do was divide the number of employees based on population, or in some cases by geography, not the ability to provide the service. And so, yes, I think there is a potential...
I'm going to say that I think the valley has a legitimate right to challenge this. It's a legal challenge based on what you just told me, which is part of evidence. I told the members of the council and of the public.
Right. I might point out, Mr. Holden, that the city also the city has the right to do that as well, and whether...
Well, both sides, but which side's going to win is the question.
I guess that... Never mind.
You told me to shut up? You never listened to me. But
I just got kicked, so I'm going to shut up for a minute.
But it's going to be a legal challenge on that. That doesn't make sense at all.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Ms. Gruhl.
I have a question. I mean, we talked last week about wanting to make this ballot simple on a number of issues. And reading this language, I mean, I understand the wanting to make sure we have the fiscal implications in here. But for an educated voter, which I believe I am, it's kind of confusing as to as far as it's reading the way that you have outlined it. Is this for legal reasons, or, I mean, I don't know, where it starts, we're adding just the language that says, and the requirement that the new city shall not modify, is that correct? Is that everything else in this paragraph is currently in the ballot measure?
It's there's just a staff report going to the Board of Supervisors. The addition that we are strongly recommending is the addition of the $127 million annual payment. The rest of the language is as prepared by County Council and proposed to the Board of Supervisors, and Mr. Merkin is here if there is any question on whether there are other format changes.
So the only, and Mr. Merkin, if you could explain to us that what it is all we're including is the amount, or other items that were not included in the original proposal?
There is one addition as well. You'll see, I think you picked up, council member, with regard to the new city shall not modify, alter, or rescind. We begin, that's the new language that is being added, starting there, and that, of course, relates to the ability of the new city to meet its obligations to the city of Los Angeles. And it goes on to point out that includes the requirement that they pay $127,122,000 a year as adjusted, et cetera, for 20 years. So this is the new language we are proposing.
Recommending to be added to that.
That's correct.
Well, again, I think that we want, we have this on the ballot, we want to have it on the ballot, but we need to make sure people are educated, obviously, but we want it to be as clear as possible for a voter to understand what a fiscal mitigation payment is. And again, I don't know if we are wedded to this resolution adopted today, whether or not there's dialogue, because can we make it as simple and, for our voters to understand what actually LAFCO is going to propose.
One possibility here is to add numbering within the question itself. If the question is clarity to the reader, one thing that could be done here is we could add some numbering within the question to help the reader through the question. That's one possibility. But now to go beyond and provide an explanation in the ballot material, in the ballot question itself of what revenue neutrality is,
I don't know that we can propose that. It would get longer if you start putting in explanation of what this payment means, why it's there, how it was calculated. There certainly will be an impartial analysis presented in the voter information pamphlet available to voters.
And who prepares that particular, the document?
I believe that's the executive officer of LAFCO prepares the impartial analysis.
The impartial analysis.
Correct.
Executive Director of LAFCO and impartial analysis.
Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to take a moment to thank Ms. Mizikowski and her staff, and the mayor's office, Mr. Deaton and Mr. Merkin for working on this and bringing it before us. It may seem like a small matter, but it's really important. This is the Truth in Labeling Act of 2002. That's exactly what it is. It's one thing to talk about secession in the abstract. It's another thing to talk about what it actually means. And as the discussion turns towards what it actually means, that is all to the better for the people of this city, because they have to understand exactly what it means. And that's all you've done here, is you've sought to provide some additional factual supplement to what is for many people a vague and still sort of hard to define, hard to decipher issue. And I support it. Thank you.
Ms. Hahn.
Mr. President, colleagues, I do too appreciate the fact that we're bringing this up. And I think Councilwoman Crewell brought up some interesting points about, what is a fiscal mitigation payment. But I think I am so adamant that this number needs to appear in the ballot language, because it does seem to be one of the issues that sometimes when the debates and the discussions are happening seems to be conveniently left out by some of the so-called leaders of the secession. They have failed to tell the people that they would be making this alimony payment of almost $128 million annually to Los Angeles. And I think once people hear that, it puts a whole new spin on what it means to break away. And while they may not understand what fiscal mitigation payment is, it's certainly an opportunity then for the discussions, for the arguments, for the debates to center around that. And I think that's important. So once it's in the ballot language, I believe that then we can begin to explain it and talk about it. If it's not there, I think it's an issue that could conveniently be left out of many debates on secession. So I think it's imperative. I thought it was good government, but it sounds like we have a legal basis for this to be in there, and I think that's important. You cannot have people vote on whether or not to divorce Los Angeles without knowing what that alimony payment is going to be. I think that is at the absolute crux of the decision that people will have to be making in November. So I support this. This has to get in there. People need to know, really, without a shadow of doubt, what it's going to cost to break away and break apart Los Angeles.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Ms. Mizikowski.
Again, this payment, as it was calculated, was not calculated by the City of Los Angeles. In fact, we challenged the calculation. But it is the payment that was calculated by LAFCO pursuant to state law. LAFCO could not have recommended that this matter go to the ballot without this payment being a part of it. They have two tests. They must determine, can the new city on its own be fiscally viable, and in the creation of a new city, is there harm to come to the old city? That is called the revenue neutrality payment, or the hold harmless payment. This was calculated by LAFCO. It is mandated in their findings. It was mandated in the resolution that the LAFCO board adopted. And all we're asking is that the Board of Supervisors, as they put this on the ballot, include it and make it clear so people understand. There is, in fact, to answer Ms. Grewal, I'm not sure whether the County Board of Supervisors does have a process that we have in the city. When we put matters on the ball, we follow our clear technical language, which sometimes is a little obscure, a little hard to understand. And we then have a later effort that is called the ballot simplification, where we have a group of citizens who sit and work with the city clerk to try to simplify the language so that people can look at that and understand it. I think it would be useful to recommend that the board try that same approach, but nevertheless, in this, which must include some legal issues, some legal words to make it official, this payment was part of the legal requirement that allowed it to become official, to allow it to go to the voters, and it should be part and parcel of the action that the voters are voting on. So I commend the city attorney and the mayor's office for helping to bring this forward, and I ask that the council adopt this so that our city officials can go to the Board of Supervisors on Thursday and make this presentation for a fully informed voting public and full disclosure of the matter that they will be considering.
Mr. Burnson.
Yes, members of the council, this is a very complicated issue. It's a two-sided issue. Yes, there absolutely needs to be a truth in lending type of statement on the ballot so everybody understands what they're voting for and what the costs are. On the other side of the sword is the Valley, who says, wait a minute, we've been overpaying you for at least $126 million every year for services we haven't got, and you're asking for more, $300 million a year, which this amount may be debated either way in the courts should this be successful. In fact, it may be debated either way in the courts, whether it's successful or not. However, the state law is very clear, and I think that's what Ms. Misikowski and our staff have gone by, and that's what LAFCO went by. To present what the state law calls for in presenting this. And I made a prediction when this thing first started that neither LAFCO, the city of Los Angeles, the Valley, or anybody else, the county will decide what happens here. It will be decided in the California Supreme Court, and that may be years from now. So we should be prepared for that, because I think that both sides may sue if it's successful. One side may sue if it's not successful. We don't know. We just have to wait and see what happens. I just want to ask one question. Mr. Merkin, maybe you can answer the question. We're making this recommendation for the ballot designation, is that correct?
That's what your action today would do.
Would it do that, or does this have to be approved by the county or by LAFCO?
It's the County Board of Supervisors
We'll
that
have the
makes
final
decision.
word. So what we're doing is we're making the recommendation to the County Board of Supervisors.
Correct.
And they, in turn, will make that decision.
That's correct.
I just wanted to point out that I think it's appropriate, whether you agree or disagree with the payment, whether you're a secessionist or whether you're somebody who's opposed to secession and wants to keep the city together, when you place something on the ballot, the information should be clear-cut for everybody so they understand it. But don't think that this thing is going to end in November, because it won't.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to in support of this. I think that voters need to know what they're voting on. They need to know what it costs, and they need to know that there's no such thing as a free reorganization in this case. I think that we all look, whenever we have any bond initiative, whenever we have anything that the fiscal impact, we have fought long and hard to make sure that there is that sort of truth in advertising. As we had in this council, this will only be half truth in advertising, because I think the costs, unfortunately, LAFCO did not see fit to look at the true cost to this city and to all residents of this city, of this reorganization. Along the lines of what had been suggested, I wanted to add maybe some syntax. I know this is from the county portion that could help maintain this still as a single sentence, but have that numbering that you suggested so that voters could scan this. And I think 95% of voters would get lost in this paragraph of a sentence. After subject to such terms and conditions, including, it would be :1, the establishment of provisional appropriations limit for the new city, (2, the requirement, etc. Then after the San Fernando Valley area would be another (3), and the requirement that the new city shall not modify, etc. I think that'll help visually people to be able to see that as well. And it's so important for us to have this here. I mean, I come back to the metaphor that I've been using, which is we keep hearing that the new car that is being offered is going to be faster, it's going to have the moonroof, it's going to have the CD player, and nobody's telling us what it will cost, and nobody's showing us the engine. That's a different matter. But I think that at the very least, we need to know what it looks like and how much it's going to cost before we are asked to step into this car. So I hope that will achieve it somewhat.
Mr. Holden.
Mr. President, members, one question. Would it be possible also to show in this ballot presentation that the city will continue to provide essential services like water and power, and we're going to be compensated this amount because of alimony and police protective services? Or is that part of the requirement as well?
We don't believe that's part of the legal requirement for the ballot question
What
itself.
about water and power? Will you get this?
We do not believe that's part of the legal requirement for the ballot statement itself.
No. I'm talking about, are we required, did LAFCO say we have to provide those services? And the answer to that could be yes or no.
LAFCO has conditions regarding those
LAFCO
services.
also said that they should pay us about $120 million plus a year. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. So, but you find it necessary to put in the ballot as a statement that they should pay us alimony, but you don't find it necessary to put in the ballot that we're going to be providing them services. So it suggests that they're not paying us for nothing. They're getting something for it. And I mean, from the standpoint of fairness, it looks like pile on, let's kill them unless we be fair across the board and do that. I think it's appropriate to do that. They say we will continue, the city will continue to provide those essential services. I mean, at the same fee, water and power. Now, why would you not want to put that on the ballot? Also, Mr. City Attorney?
Well, that's up to the discretion of the County Board of Supervisors. It's not legally required, but they have discretion in terms of what terms and conditions they want to highlight. It is required that they indicate what the chief points and purposes are of the measure. So that would be up to them.
Okay, so the Board of Supervisors can do that anyway.
That becomes their responsibility to highlight the chief points and purposes of the measure before the electorate.
Okay.
Ms. Mizikowski.
I move the previous question on the entire matter.
You are the final speaker on the queue. This does end discussion. I believe we're ready for a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith, please.
Thank you.
Mr. Holden for an introduction.
Mr. President, members, I'm honored and pride and privilege to acknowledge one of the world's outstanding physicians, surgeons, who are with us today. He just dropped into City Council for another occasion, but he's with us. He was a former president and CEO of Good Sam Hospital, and he's helped take care of some of our colleagues. I know John Farrar was there. That's the hospital he went to. And I might add, Mr. President, when there are those who thought that the lights would be out on me about a year ago, this man is the one who turned all that around. He was my surgeon, and he gave me some extended time, along with the help of the creator of the planet and universe, God. Dr. Bowers, I just want him to stand. He just dropped and he said, "Don't introduce me, I'm not dressed." But here's a guy, I got to tell you, if you need help, you want somebody to cut on you and save your life, he's the one who can do it. Dr. Bowers, welcome to the City Council, and we're glad to have you here. Your reputation preceded you.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Mr. Clerk, next item, please. Item number 43, called special by Councilmember Mizikowski. Ms. Mizikowski.
I would like to continue item 43 until Friday, and while I'm up, could I ask item 40 to go forthwith?
Forthwith on number 40. Members request to continue item number 43 to this Friday. Is there any objection? Without objection, then, item 43 shall be continued. Let's welcome back Mr. Burnson. Next item, please. Mr. President, item number 15 is an item for which public hearing has been held. It was called special by both Councilmember Hahn and Zine. Okay, item 15 now before us. Public hearing having been held in committee. Motion would be required to reopen the public hearing. Ms. Hahn. Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just what I introduced to amend our rules that we hold our city council meetings out in the public. And it's just changing our rules to say that we hold no less than 15 council meetings every 2 years out in the community. And since we first had the first reading of this, we actually had one of those council meetings in District 10. And I must say that it was an extremely well-attended council meeting. It was in a recreation center in Councilman Holden's district. It was packed. It was standing room only. And it was an opportunity for many of those people who had never participated in one of our city council meetings to do so. In fact, as a result of Tom LeBlange's instant poll, which he does on a regular basis, he asked how many in attendance was this their first council meeting. I dare say almost 90% of 73, okay, I thought it was 90%. Even 73, I think it might have been 80. People who have never before gone to a council meeting. And I think that's important. And some people have said, well, gee, some of our council meetings out in the district seem to be no more than dog and pony shows, and they're not really meaningful. I dare say some of our council meetings down here might fall into that same category. So I think, I don't think that matters. I think what's important is that people in our districts, people in the community, residents all over the city have an opportunity to have us bring our meetings to them. And while I believe that it's a new day here on City Council, while I believe that so far we have volunteered to have our meetings out in the community, I can't promise my constituents, and I don't know if you can promise yours, that we can speak for the council 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I think this is something we ought to put in our rules. I think we should mandate that we bring government closer to the people. It's a great opportunity for us to see other parts of the city, and more importantly, most people just won't make it down here to City Council in downtown Los Angeles to participate. So this is something I think that we can do. It might cost a little more money. It might be inconvenient for some of our staff members, but it's an investment. It's an investment in how we behave as a future in Los Angeles. So I hope you'll support that. I think this is the right thing for us to do. I think it's just another step in the direction of making government more accountable to the people that we serve.
Ms. Misikowski. Let's then proceed to Mr. LeBlange.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to salute Janice Hahn for that idea and continue the effort of all of us. I remember that beautiful night at the Madrid Theater. Wonderful meeting that was there, and at Banning, here at the Banning's Point, at that beautiful building built down named after the late great Gertrude Schwab, and the meeting in Nate Holden's district at the Wilt Chamberlain Gymnasium in Baldwin Hills, where I went to the Jim Gilliam Field. That's why I was late. Jim Gilliam was my favorite Dodger, number 19. Tremendous ball player. But we're talking about our city council and going out in the neighborhood. It is so important. The more we and the closer we are to the people, the better we are. We're out. And I talked to someone in Europe the other day on the telephone, and they were telling me about, they just saw a documentary on Father Sierra, how he founded the missions in California, and he was fascinated, you know, how someone came from an island off the coast of Spain, Majorca, to Mexico, and then made this pilgrimage to California, and the missions are part of our history. And they got out. We have to continue to get out and meet the people, and this gives us a vehicle to do that. I would ask for not a change to the rule or anything like this, but I would just like to ask that we instruct Alex Sullivan to hold up for a moment, and Ron Deaton, if you could just identify the locations around the city that have great parking, transit accessibility, and possibly IT, so you can lower the cost, compatible, so we can have a regular basis. And I don't like, I'm a member of the Dog and Pony Union, and I don't like that discrimination you love about dog and pony shows, because anytime you get out is good. So to create an opportunity and be at a regular meeting so that we can come out and discuss the issues of the day. I just wanted to salute this effort. The more we're out with people, the better people we are. Long live the City Council. Amen. Ms. Scrull.
I just want to echo my colleagues' comments about going out into the field. And we were just recently in Nate Holden's district, which I think had close to 500 people participating. And that 15 meetings a year is not a lot to go out into our communities and have our city council meetings. I can go to your district too? Okay. We'll go to the 12th district as well. But this is really an important part of bringing government to the people, and that we should make sure that we go out into these neighborhoods and these communities and have people talk to us about their concerns when decisions are being made in their neighborhoods. So this is, as Janice mentioned, one of many things that we should be doing to make sure that our community participates in the decision-making process. So I similarly want to request that we have an aye vote, and the minimal amount of money that we spend to do this is well worth in educating. That's our job, is to be responsive to our community. So I want to ask my colleagues similarly to have an aye vote today.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do wholeheartedly support this bringing government to the people. Janice Hahn, Nick Pacheco, and I were members of the Charter Commission, and we had a motion in charter, and we took our Charter Commission meetings out to the communities of Los Angeles, and it was informative for the people, informative for the commissioners to see exactly the different neighborhoods, the different concerns throughout the city of Los Angeles. I have one question that maybe the CLA can answer, and it regards the cost. There is no financial report on that, and I would just be curious what the cost is and if we can obtain public facilities. I know that with Channel 35 broadcasting it live, there's a whole transmission operation that takes place. As far as the council members and the staff that have to go to the different venues, we do that. That's not a problem. Other than the live broadcast from Channel 35, are there any other costs that we have to absorb in doing this? Again, I wholeheartedly support it. I know that Public Works is going to have a community meeting in my district tomorrow evening, and the Public Works Commission is going to be listening to the people in the West San Fernando Valley. And clearly, when I go to Mandy's Landing down there in the southern part of our city in Wilmington, thank you, Janice, Wilmington, not San Pedro, Wilmington.
Very good, Mr. Zine.
I got that right. Go back to the San Fernando Valley. I remember that one. When we're down in Wilmington and seeing the concerns that they have, and you took me for a tour, Councilmember Hahn, showing the storage containers and the concerns. So when a motion comes before us in council, we can be knowledgeable of that situation. Same thing with the Valley. The Valley secessionists don't believe that this government's listening to them. And when we go out to the Valley and we hear from the people and they see us, and listening to the comments at Councilmember Holden's meeting just last week, people who had never been to a council meeting, and there's no question it's difficult to come downtown with the traffic, find a place to park, find out where we are, go to the metal detector. Obviously, I support that. But the question I have, you can please respond, is the cost, because there's no financial analysis in the report.
Generally, it's going to run anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000, depending on the site, and it can be less, depending on the site. If we've got a public facility and it's got the setup for the broadcast, it'll probably be less, but it really depends on the site.
Is there a way we could select certain locations?
You have a matter of policy.
Actually, if
that
pursuing what
Thank you, Mr. Labange, for that historical view.
The council's policy is to cite these meetings in public facilities. That is always not possible depending on the month, et cetera, and what's going on in those facilities. We may conflict with some events that other departments are having, but we generally try to cite these in public facilities.
So with the 15 that we're planning over the 24-month period in the 15 council districts, we could somehow set up a coordinated effort where we could reduce the cost. And if a public facility is not available in this council district and there wasn't that, then we could have it there in that month.
Generally, we're my office and the CLA and ITA and General Service are going to work with the individual council office to select the site, make sure we're all comfortable with the facilities, and then we can produce the meeting in a timely fashion.
And the information technology Channel 35, that is a city operation. Correct. And all we're doing is transporting the portable equipment to the site. As far as any additional costs that we may at a public facility?
We may have some additional costs, for instance, a dais, a raised platform for the council. But again, it depends on what facilities are available to us when we go to that site.
Mr. Deaton?
Thank you. I just commenting one is, I think what Mr. Laban suggested is we'll locate facilities and try to find a group of them. Also discussing with the president just a moment ago, I think if we get a regular schedule and we know when we're going to be at a certain location or we're going in a certain, I think if we organize ourselves, we can reduce cost and also make it much more predictable and get better attendance and a whole host of things. So we'll Mr. McCary and I will pursue that.
So in the process of good government, this will work for everyone.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Zhang. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I think one of the positive byproducts of this is that at times I wonder where our department heads and our top managers live. I tend to wonder if they actually live in the city. But bottom line is, nothing personal, folks. Let's not go there, folks. But bottom line is, it gives us the opportunity to show our managers the conditions of our neighborhoods. Relates to those folks, those committee members that are actually looking for those improvements that they should be having, and enlighten some of our managers and department heads as to what's really happening in their respective areas. So I think interesting byproduct, we can have our department heads show up to these meetings and perhaps have top managers there so we can point out these issues as it pertains to respective council districts. Nothing personal, folks.
All questions of my residency, I refer to Mr. Holden.
For the record, I was born in San Pedro and raised in Wilmington. I moved back to Wilmington after I graduated from college. I am not a San Pedro boy, I'm a Wilmington boy.
Duly noted. Mr. Holden.
Señor Holden.
Mr. President, members, I just want to thank my colleagues and the communities for causing the council meeting of the last Wednesday be as successful as it was. And Mr. Bernson, that there are people there who came out and they said they were just delighted. Well, they came to see me too, yeah, I know. They came to see you, but you weren't there. And they were saying, where's Mr. Bernson? They're saying, well, you know, he's just not here. I didn't try to make any excuses for you. And I didn't try to say why you were not there. I said, he loves this neighborhood, but he's not here anyway. The fact of the matter is that everybody who came enjoyed themselves very, very much. And the people, my constituents, enjoyed having you there at the meeting. I will say one thing, however. When you go out at the community meetings, the president has to stretch it out for a while, because it was about an hour after the meeting started plus before you had a quorum. But the people, the constituents didn't know that. And so we just kept the program going. But it was a good program anyway. But it seemed to me at least that once you go out to the community, please do not have to cancel a meeting for lack of a quorum. Make sure that we have at least 10 people there. In order to get 10, let's have at least 12 or 13 committed to attend, because you can have 3 for the double cross or for the disappointment. 3 or 4 may not show up. So whereas they're speaking today saying, let's take our meetings to the community so they can participate in their government, we have to be mindful of the fact that we're going to keep that pledge and commitment and show up and appear at those community meetings. I don't know any community meeting that I have never attended. Even when Joe Wax had a meeting in Sunland, Tehunga. And that was, I had a passport, but I went to the meeting. I had a visa also. So the fact of the matter is that we should try, these meetings are very important. I was in Hollywood, I was there. You stayed very late, but that's okay. I was there. All right. But you were not at my meeting. That's okay. You asked for that. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think it's a good idea, and I'm going to vote aye.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Mr. Burnson.
Members of the council, first of all, let me reply to Mr. Holden. You know, if you're going to have these meetings in the districts, it's nice if you give people adequate notice. Mr. Holden? I said if you're going to have these meetings in the district, it's nice that you give members adequate notice. 2 weeks is not adequate notice because we make commitments to other things that we have to do, and when you make a commitment, you should keep it. I just want to give, that's a little word of advice to all my colleagues. When you make a commitment, you should keep it. So if you want to do this, I'm not going to be around. You won't have to listen to me after next June. But if you want to have these meetings on a uniform basis, that's up to you. I think that you have the authority and the ability to do it anytime you want, as often as you want, and for the issues that you want. Unfortunately, some of the ones have been dog and pony shows. Some of them have not, but it tends to be a self-gratification type meeting where you honor all the people and you have these long shows, and that's not what these things are really intended for. If you really want to have these things, you should have a real controversial issue. When you have an airport issue such as we had in the Valley, that we took, I don't know if any of you were on the council, I guess you were. If you recall, we had all the advocates and all the people who were opposed to the airport there. These are the type of meetings that people attend. Well, it wasn't during my election. And I will say this to you, that, you know, most people don't come to, are not interested in what the council does unless they have an issue. The key is, if you really want to get involved with your community, go out to their advisory committees, create them, work with them. That's what they really want. They want to work with you. And you have the ability to do that. We had over 23 years ago, we started our advisory committees, and we work with them on a regular basis. That's what it's about, not because you have a meeting in the Valley and you give out resolutions and all that type of stuff. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing what you want to do. And I think the policy, Janice, I think the policy, if you want to have a meeting once a year in each district, that's fine, but have some substantive issues on it. Make it interesting. Don't make it just a gratification of the council member or a few members in the community. Put some community issues that need to be discussed on those agendas. That's when it'll be meaningful. And you as an individual should work with your community in between these meetings so they don't have to wait for the once a year. I'm going to reluctantly go along with this. I don't think it should be a council rule. I think we should have the ability and know when it's time to do it on an issue basis, or when it's time to do these things in our districts. And we've done it through the years. I've attended dozens of them through the 23 years, and I've missed a couple. And the only reason I missed yours, Mr. Holden, is because I made a previous commitment. In 2 weeks, you know, I was at your previous one. I was very impressed with you and how you conducted it, and everybody loved you, and that was nice. That was the previous one. I don't know how it was this time. Anyway, at any rate, I'm going to support this thing. I think you can go ahead with it. I'm not overly enthusiastic about it, but, you know, go with it if that's what you want to do.
Mr. Labange.
I call for the question and thank all of you.
Okay, we have Ms. Hahn waiting to be heard. Do you want to withdraw that?
My question then for Ms. Hahn.
Ms. Hahn.
Actually, I'm going to give the rest of my time to Leonard Shapiro, because this is something Leonard has been asking for a long time. So I think it's only right to let him just say a few things, since he did take the opportunity to come downtown to City Hall to say something on this issue. Leonard, you can have the rest of my time. You have 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
Mr. President, Mr. President, members of the council, yes, this is Leonard Shapiro. I wanted to just say a few words on this, although I don't notice any organized opposition to what Mrs. Hahn is trying to push forward. But I'd like a few ideas I'd like people to keep in mind. What is fueling secession movements all over LA? And its lack of responsiveness. Even this morning, 3 people came up to me with problems, and they asked me what they can do about this. I referred one to Mr. Garcetti. I think he's going to handle it. But why do they come to me? They want somebody who will respond. How do you get responsiveness? You get responsiveness by holding community meetings in the various districts, the way they've been doing in the past 20 years. But you got to remember, when people try to do this on a voluntary basis, it doesn't work. From the years 1981 to 1995, 14 years, there were only 3 meetings held on a voluntary basis. People thought they wanted to do it, but they never got around to do it. In 96 and 97, there were 3 meetings each year because I was pushing hard. And in 1998, I convinced John Ferraro finally that he should do it, and he pushed hard. He got 10 meetings. I figured the whole issue was solved. We're going to have it on a voluntary basis. But what happened in 1999, 2000, 2001? 2 meetings. You don't push, you don't get. You need this mandatory thing that Mrs. Hahn is pushing forth, and there's no question about it. There's others. Got to remember, this is the first step in getting people to be responsive. And the second step is to hold meetings at night when people who work for a living can come. And the third step is to have an open door of all elected politicians where any ordinary citizen can come and see you. And the fourth step that has to be done is you have to fix up city halls in the various areas of the city. You got to fix up the one in the San Fernando Valley, and you got to build one in the west side, you got to build one east side, and you got to build one down in the downtown harbor area. If you want to do this, it will be a great help because we are a representative democracy. A representative democracy means that you listen to what the people have to say. And if you get the people there and they come to the meeting, and every meeting with the attendance was overwhelming. In Canoga Park, you had 700 people. You turned away 300 people. People want to come. They want to see the city council. They want to talk to the city council. And Janice Hahn's motion is the best way in this area. And if you'd done it 2 years ago, you wouldn't have the trouble that you have right now with secession. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro. Thank you, Ms. Hahn.
I did that for my father, Mr. Shapiro, because he always liked you and he always let you speak when you came down to the County Board of Supervisors, so I did it for him. Anyway, I hope you'll support this.
Okay, Ms. Hahn is our final speaker. I believe we're ready for a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
This is approved. Members of the council, as Mr. Deaton had mentioned at the table, now that this is formally approved, what I would like to do is work with all of you and have the clerk actually lead this in providing some regularity to the meetings. If we can all count on whether it's the second Wednesday or the third Tuesday or whatever it is, I think that would be the most helpful for us to maintain our schedules accordingly when we only catch wind of an offsite meeting 3 weeks in advance. There are oftentimes we have prior commitments, so to maximize the benefit to the communities, it's best to have the best attendance possible, and that's, I believe, can be provided by if we establish that regularity and consistency in when we meet outside of City Hall. So please cooperate with the clerk as he makes the rounds to figure out what's best for the council as a body. Mr. Clerk, next item, please.
Item number 22, called special by Councilmember Zion.
Mr. Zion, item 22.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. Regarding this issue, is there someone here from the department? Animal regulations, animal services?
Margaret Sullivan, LA Animal Services,
And your position?
Chief Management Analyst.
Okay, Martha, I have a question regarding the changeover and any expenditure of funds to accomplish this. Or will we exhaust existing stock, et cetera, and make a transition into the name change?
Absolutely, Council Member. It's our intention to implement this change over a period of time in the most cost-effective manner. As you mentioned, we do not intend to at this point discard any items that have our current name. We will exhaust our print stock and then reprint with the correct name.
So it'll simply be as the process moves through and the stock exhausts and the vehicles exhaust, et cetera, the name change will take place and there won't be any negative financial impact to the city.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Brinson?
Yes, members of the council, I'm going to oppose this, and I'll tell you why. You can look at me any way you like, it's okay. I don't think this is the right thing to do. I think I've been probably as supportive of animal rights as anybody on this council through the years that I've been here. I think this is dictated by a few people who have extreme ideas. I've had animals. I have a dog and a cat, and we love them, and we respect them, and we respect the rights of people as well. I think we're letting the dog, the tail wag the dog in this case if we approve this. And I would urge you not to do, what's that? What are you showing me?
Item 22.
That's not the issue.
I thought this was the thing. What do you change in the name of the department? You should have stopped. Instead of looking at me, you should have stopped me.
I'm sorry, you caught me by surprise.
I'm sorry, too.
We're changing the name of the department to Animal Services.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
As long as you understand my position on the other thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. Appreciate that, Mr. Brinson. I support this. I remember our street maintenance changed its name to street services. It gives it an acronym that people understand. And that's right. And animal regulation. And I have a lot of animals in my district, horses, and the Griffith Park area, as well as the wildlife of Silver Lake, Hollywood Hills, and throughout, so I appreciate it. The only question I wanted to ask you is, in going through the process of changing the name from animal regulation, Ms. Hahn, I'm sorry, Ms. Hahn. Ms. Hahn? All right, she didn't. But anyway, in going through the process of discussing this particular issue of name changes, I wanted to know what did the dogs and what did the ponies think about the proposed change?
They absolutely love the change.
Good, I support it strongly, thank you.
Okay, other members wishing to be heard, Mr. Zine.
Just a point of clarification, because obviously one of our colleagues had a misunderstanding. We're simply going to change the term animal regulations to animal services. And all it's going to do is take regulations out and put in services. That's the only change, because it's a service-oriented department.
That's correct. It will change the name of the department as well as the name of the board, also known as the commission. That is correct. That is the only change.
So regulation to services.
That's correct.
And that's what we want to do, is service the people and the animals of Los Angeles.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Other members? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please. Item number 23, call specified by Councilmember Hahn. Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. I just wanted to rise in support of this agreement between our Department of Recreation and Parks and the San Pedro AYSO for the operation of what we've called the Field of Dreams in San Pedro. And this really has been a field of dreams, and we're trying to make it a field of reality today. This has been a project to build soccer fields in San Pedro, which really has spanned the last decade. It actually started, the dream started under Councilwoman Joan Flores. It languished under Councilman Rudy Zabornich, and today we have the opportunity to finalize this agreement so that children in the harbor area will have more soccer fields to play on, to practice on, and to have their dreams be recognized. So this is a joint effort between the city and the Department of Recreation Parks. They constructed the site with Prop K funding, and they will maintain the facilities with the cooperation of AYSO. The Bureau of Sanitation actually provided the land. The Amateur Athletic Foundation provided a grant for the purchase of equipment. And of course, we have the hundreds of dedicated volunteers, soccer moms, soccer dads, who have worked to make sure that the needs of their children are realized. We will open this Field of Dreams in the fall, and it will serve over 1,600 young people in the harbor area. And any of you who are involved in soccer in your communities have to know that, particularly with the exciting play of the United States this year in the World Cup, that it is the sport that is growing by leaps and bounds. More of our young people, girls and boys, are playing soccer at a more increased rate than any other sport going on right now. And we don't have enough fields for our kids to play on. Many times, I know when I was a soccer mom, we had to play games with my son sometimes as early as 7:30 on a Sunday morning, just because there were not enough fields for everyone to play. So this is a great opportunity. It's a great agreement, and I ask for your support on this as we just do one more thing to tell the young people in the city of Los Angeles that they are important, that we do care about their needs, and with all the things that we do in terms of city business down here at City Hall, we cannot forget the recreation needs of our young people throughout the city of Los Angeles. So I hope you'll support me in what I consider to be a really fine agreement that will produce something that's been long waited in the harbor area. So this Field of Dreams will become a field of reality.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Seeing no other members wishing to be heard, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Number 25, called special on this budget. There's members of the public who wish to be heard. Item 25 now before us, and the council calls forward Mr. Larry Green, followed by Melissa Patak and Sylvia Hawkins.
Hello. Item number 25 is concerning tax credits for commercial film and TV production in California. Well, Leonard talked about having meetings at night and all that. I'm self-employed, and I make time to come down here during the day. I happen to be an actor, a member of the Screen Actors Guild. Don't laugh, because there was once an actor who became governor and president of this country, and I'm a worse actor than Ronald Reagan ever was. But I am an actor, and it's very important that we not lose TV and film production to Canada and North Carolina and Georgia and so many other locations. We're losing it day by day. And it's more important than anything else that we offer incentives to the film producers, TV producers, and even radio producers that have things going on. Do it right here in Los Angeles, and I support this. Tax credits are great for the industry, and I just wanted to come down here and echo my support. It's item number 25, and I know Tom Levant will support this too. Thank you.
Ms. Hawkins.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Hawkins from District Number 8, and I am with no tax-free. I believe that we are a nation that is rich, and that we should set an example to our youth concerning paying our taxes and bills. I believe that the expense on using other people's property and buildings to film, that we should pay taxes on that, and also to the owner of the building. The equipment of the set price is too expensive for tax-free, which is equipment that they use to film. The quality of the film tape equipment is too cheap as we view it on television every day. I can tell the difference if you use expensive quality film or if you use cheap equipment and tape. So we want to use expensive and not cheap. Also, maybe taxes and credits should be for actors and actresses, clothes, food, and makeup. Yes, help from our government in these areas is necessary. Maybe taxes in that area, because you do use a lot of makeup, actors, and actresses, which costs money. Maybe we can help you in that area. It's also in clothing. If you look at One Life to Live, there is a lot of beautiful clothing, but that costs money. Maybe we can give you tax-free on that part. Not everything.
Thank you very much. Our final speaker, Ms. Melissa Patak, representing the Motion Picture Association of America, I understand had to leave. She's for the proposal, and we will add her card to the file. This concludes public comment on this item. Now proceeding with council discussion, Ms. Gruhl, followed by Mr. Garcia.
I'm pleased to stand before you today in support of this motion that I introduced, and I appreciate Larry being here as well. As many of you know, the entertainment industry is an economic engine for the city of Los Angeles. It contributes to our tax base and so many jobs that are in our communities. California produces 70% of the total revenue of the motion picture industry worldwide, and it generates close to 290,000 jobs in California and about $3.5 billion to the state's economy. Unfortunately, the industry has suffered from runaway production, which many of you have heard that terminology, which happens when we will lose jobs all across the state of California and tax dollars and economic stability. This is an opportunity for us to have tax breaks to allow, and primarily small independent films who hire people like grips and people who are the caterers and the security guards and the camera persons. It's not, as some people would say, the stars and actors that we're all familiar with. It's those real jobs in the lower level. So I am pleased to support AB 2747, which is introduced by Speaker Herb Wesson, which provides a 15% income tax credit on the first $25,000 of wages. And so I know Melissa was here and wanted to speak in support of this, as well as the IA and other unions as well. So I just asked for an aye vote on this matter and appreciate all of you, Councilman Padilla and Rules Committee, supporting this motion.
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. President, and congratulations, Councilmember Gruhl, for this. I was happy to second it, and I think this is a great step in terms of looking at runaway production in not only the city but the region. As part of the initiative going with this as well, as chair of the Economic Development and Employment Committee, we've hired a consultant person who came up first with this idea for this legislation, the former Assemblymember Scott Wildman, who then was not able to get it through, but happily we see it going through this year, hopefully, and with a signature from the governor. He's going to be looking at a broad range of what things we can do here locally to make sure that we keep that local production here as that happens throughout the country and throughout the world as well. So that is something we'll be holding hearings on later this year, and we invite you all to participate in that as we look at what steps Los Angeles City can do to keep production here locally. Thank you.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too should thank Councilmember Gruhl for her leadership there, and my colleague, Mr. Garcetti, and you, Mr. Padilla, for pushing this through. And it's very important that we do this here. The film industry, and I think, Wendy, you said it so well when you talk about all the people that are around the camera. We may know the actors, but the actors aren't the answer. It's all the other people around in the production houses throughout. There's many production facilities within my council district, and we enjoy both the Burbank Studios and Universal in this 4th District, which is so important to all of it. And in West Hollywood, the Burbank Studios that they have there on Santa Monica, extremely important. So in the words of Abe Stein, that producer many, many years ago, a rock's a rock, a tree's a tree, go shoot it in Griffith Park. I vote for this. Thank you so much.
Mr. Holden.
From $200,000 to $10 million. You get a 15% tax credit on wages that are paid out to people who participate in production of films in the state of California. I think that there are those who are associated with the production of those films also. And whether or not the legislation, maybe somebody, Mr. Kosh, who is associated with the production of the film is also entitled to a tax credit, and if not, why not? And what's considered to be an associate employee? Thank you, Mr. President.
Michael Karsh with the CLA's office. I have Tina Chiani, who has worked on this project. You're trying to find out who would be eligible and who would not. Generally, the purpose was to not give away tax credit to the very expensive film productions, but for the lower budget ones. Perhaps, Tina, can you explain that better?
Right. This applies, actually, this is a 15% tax credit to the first $25,000 of wages paid. And that 200,000 to 10 million.
Paid or earned?
Paid by the studio.
Paid.
Who would get the credit?
These are the
studio.
The studio production company.
They're the ones who pay the taxes.
No, the employee paid the taxes.
Well, the studio pays, that's what the focus of the bill is on the studios who are balking at the amount of money that they have to pay in taxes to film in the state. So they're only aiming at reducing that burden.
What is that formula? We need to know, what is that? What do they pay taxes on? They get, for every $25,000 they pay out as wages, they get a 15% tax credit on what?
Well, they're able to take a credit against the taxes that they owe to the state as a business on the bank and corporation tax.
Which is not very much if they're not making a lot of money.
Nope.
So they put a cap at $10 million, is that correct?
Correct.
And it's for year 2004 through 2009, which means it will not affect these budget crises that we now have in the state. Right. And so, since it's a delay of the implementation of this legislation, what it suggests to me at least, that should we have a budget shortfall in the budget year 2003, 2004, 2004, 2005, this legislation will not be implemented because they postponed the implementation of it through emergency legislation. But for now, at least, I think it's a goodwill. It's extending the olive branch and is saying to the industry that we would like for you to stay here, whether you're going to save any money or not. So, doesn't hurt. Nothing that hurt us doesn't affect our, except for the fact, if the state loses money, then they can take away some of the tax that we might be getting, but Mr. Thomas will be up there and make sure that won't happen.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Other members wishing to be heard? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Let's send that forthwith, please. Next item.
Item number 38, called special by Councilmember Reyes. There is an amending motion that has been distributed.
Okay, technical in nature? I believe so. Mr. Reyes, the amendment on item 38.
Thank you, Council President. This is an amendment just basically identifies an account to pay the fees for the motion that's been offered by Councilman Pacheco.
Okay, then without objection, let's consider the item as amended. Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Mr. President, not on the agenda is Special 1. The city attorney will speak to the need to make findings.
City attorney.
Thank you, Mr. President. This has to do with the Housing Department. They've inspected some properties on East 43rd Street, and the tenants have had to leave. This is asking for relocation assistance, and it also to amend an existing agreement with LA Family Housing Corporation, and for the city attorney to pursue all legal remedies against the landlord to recover the cost of this relocation assistance. Therefore, the council would need to make the findings that the need to act arose after the posting of the agenda, and there's an immediate need to act. These people actually are out on the street at the moment.
Members wishing to be heard on the findings? On the findings themselves? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, we have the motion now before us. Members wishing to be heard, beginning with Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just to illustrate the seriousness of this matter, one of the residents is a senior citizen, there is a disabled resident, several children under the age of 18. Each person has their own personal story, but as the city attorney has stated, they are already out on the street, and this is for 1 month until we can find placement for all these individuals. So I hope that I can count on my colleagues for an aye vote.
Okay. Other members wishing to be heard? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith, please.
Also not on the agenda is Special 2. It is a motion brought forward by Councilmember Gruhl, and the city attorney will speak to the need to make findings.
Madam City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. President. This has to do with the tragic deaths of the husband and wife on Riverside Drive on Sunday, July 21st. This is asking DOT to do some immediate improvements on the crosswalk markings. There is a bus stop across the street. It's a very long block between Riverside, or between Woodman and Hazeltine, and therefore the council need to make the findings. The need to act arose after the posting of the agenda, and that there's an immediate need to act.
Ms. Gruhl. On the findings. Not on the findings? Okay. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, Special 2 now before us. Ms. Gruhl.
Just ask my colleagues for an aye vote. Councilmember Zine and I were there yesterday at the site. This tragedy took 2 lives, and the sad part about it is we were standing there with 3 officers on bikes, on motorcycles, and several cars. Several people walked across the street, jaywalked after 2 people had just been killed at this intersection. And what we found is that people continue to speed up and down that street, that there needs to be some immediate attention to that. What we're trying to do is educate people about the dangers of jaywalking. And all of us in this room, I know, have done it. I know that's hard to believe. But we want to make sure that not only do we educate people about not jaywalking, and also people to not be on their cell phones, not paying attention about where they're driving. So we appreciate the city attorney on the findings to make sure that tomorrow we can have Department of Transportation immediately change some of those signs, and longer term look at smart crosswalks, other types of potential measures that will protect our residents in that neighborhood. So I would just ask an aye vote today. Thank you.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, President. I join my colleague Wendy Gruhl in requesting this. I will inform our viewers and the public that the sad tragedy that occurred, the 2 people who were crossing outside of a marked crosswalk. There is a marked crosswalk at that location with adequate lighting, and I see, as we review cases in executive session, oftentimes the city is sued and there's liability here and there. But I think that maybe some improvement in the signage could help. I know that the people speeding down Riverside Drive, if they slow down, that could help. Attention to driving could help. But I fully support this motion, and I've seen too many tragedies like this take place. But this, sadly, 2 innocent people crossing outside of a crosswalk, which was there at the location, that might have helped illuminate them at night. But nevertheless, 2 people have died as a result of this tragedy, and 1 young driver who's not going to face any kind of criminal charges will suffer the sight for the rest of his life. So we need to do whatever enhancement we can do at that location. But the word of caution, and I want to also commend Valley Traffic Division. Valley Traffic Division has a very aggressive campaign underway for traffic enforcement with motorcycle officers and officers in the black and whites, and people just do not yield to pedestrians, whether they're in a crosswalk or outside of a crosswalk. But in this particular case, there was a crosswalk not being used, but still DOT can review and maybe come up with some enhanced visibility to help people, and then hopefully our encouragement of people to be watchful and to watch for the cars speeding down the street, because whether it's Riverside Drive, Ventura Boulevard, or Glendale Boulevard, or some other street, Los Feliz Boulevard, anywhere in the city of Los Angeles, we see these tragedies occur all too often. And if we look at the #1 cause of people died in collisions, it's pedestrians getting hit by cars because the drivers aren't paying attention, the pedestrians aren't paying attention. We need to address these tragedies. So I support this request. My colleagues should support it, and hopefully DOT come up with some remedies so we don't have another tragedy.
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President, colleagues. This motion brings to mind the fact that in many of our neighborhoods, those that parallel the freeway, especially the 5 and the other major thoroughfares, we have San Fernando roads and the Riverside Drives. There used to be former truck routes. And basically they have the industrial zones adjacent to residential zones. So you have this conflict. We have a lot of neighborhoods, folks who are trying to get to the river, folks that are trying to get to hopefully new parks, where you have basically another freeway coming up, causing these very dangerous thoroughfares. It's sad to see that we have to have a tragedy to bring these kinds of efforts and focus to our attention. The truth of the matter is, we need to be a little bit more aggressive in how we bring and isolate resources to these corridors. I know for a fact Cypress Park, Glassell Park, and other parts of the city that have these conditions, it's far too dangerous, especially in those areas that you have high numbers of people, high numbers of families living in one unit. These are very, very sad conditions, but they're fairly prevalent along these highly trafficked corridors. So that being said, I want to stand in support Councilman Gould and the Senator, but we need to figure out how we can, through Transportation Committee and Plum, start identifying priorities and how each one of our districts, all 15 districts, has these kinds of conditions where these dangerous situations exist, especially when we see changing uses coming about in terms of new parks, new types of conditions that will continue to be a danger for especially the children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. LaBonge.
Yeah, I just wanted to rise to support this too, and also to support Ed Reyes in his statement. God bless the memory of these people who were tragically killed. I believe in our country, 44,000 people a year are injured in traffic accidents from whatever related systems of traffic. Traffic safety is extremely important. I do think our department, with our new general manager, and working together in some type of working group with others, can come up with some ideas to really impact it. There are 3 things you could do about traffic. They're called the 3 E's. You could engineer it, you could educate the public, and you could enforce it. And all those are very important to do and to look at that, because traffic safety is so important and it affects the lives of so many. So I just wanted to support this effort here and wish the tragedy did not happen to anybody anytime. I think 10 years old, I was hit in a marked crosswalk. And from that effort that I learned is I want to make sure the cars are dead stop before I cross. And I teach my children that to everybody, that they're dead stop before you cross, because people do not pay attention. And right in front of police officers, the council member Gruhl spoke of, people speed by, which is absolutely amazing. So traffic safety is extremely important, and it should be higher on our agenda, especially since we have a former traffic officer here to help us as a colleague guide the way. I support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Other members wishing to be heard? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith, please. Next item.
Public comment on non-agenda items.
Okay, an opportunity for members of the public to address the council on matters within our jurisdiction but not appearing on today's agenda. Council calls forward at this time Mr. Leonard Shapiro, followed by Farah Mars Nababi, Larry Green, and Mort Allen. Please come forward at this time.
Mr. President and council members, as long as I came down here for that motion, which I'm glad to congratulate you on passing unanimously, so I shouldn't be wasting my time completely. I want to bring up a subject that I wrote about in the Watts Times and the Tolucan Times on June 26th. And needless to say, there was no reaction. The subject that I'm writing about is the affordable housing program, which I know is a priority item in the city of LA. I'd like to get everybody's attention on this because it really is important. There was an audit put out December 12th on the REAP program. The REAP is the Rent Escrow Account Program, which says in straight language that you can understand. In practice, however, REAP is not working. And they go into detail what has to be done about that. Now I wrote about it. Copies of this were sent to the mayor and to every single member of the council. I hope you all didn't file it in the waste paper basket, because this is a very important audit. It also brings out the fact that this REAP program was set up in 1989, that's about 13 years ago, to ensure that minimum housing habitability standards are maintained in rental buildings and encourage the maintenance and repair of rental housing by building owners. It's a noteworthy objective. It's great. I congratulate the city council on doing something good. But now when you get an audit that comes back and it tells you this program is not working, and you sit back and you do nothing about it, that's not the right way, that's not the right attitude. If you got a good program and it's not working properly, well, make sure it works properly there. You got auditors telling you all this stuff. And the second point is, there's a second department called the Systematic Code Enforcement Problem, the SCEP. And they conclude that the city's apartment inspection program is overextended and underachieving. Now you got these two things written up in this order. Something should be done. Somebody should push into the housing committee and say, why are you accepting these audits, which one tells you the good program isn't working, and the other way says you're underachieving? How can you just sit back and say, hey, congratulations, we're doing a good thing?
Mr. Shapiro, thank you very much. We've got to get on to the next speakers. Mr. Navabi? Farah Mars Nabavi, are you still with us? If not, Larry Green. Followed by Mort Allen and Bill Murray.
I'm going to set my watch because all my years in radio say, if you can't say it in 1 minute, don't say it. And I'm going to say it in 1 minute. First of all, I think it's a shame, it's shocking that we have not done anything in the city of LA to honor the mayor for 8 years, Richard Reardon. I think there should be something named after Richard Reardon. I know a library's named after Reardon? Okay. All right, fine. I did not know that. I did not know that.
And that only took 30 seconds.
All right. Secondly, I think we should take the courageous step.
That was about 1 minute's worth, Mr.
No. We should ban driving and talking on the cell phone. That should be done. It's done in New York, do it here. Third, I've conducted an informal, non-scientific poll. I've polled hundreds of LAPD officers, men and women, and I want to let you know my results. Almost unanimously, they want to see Mark Croker as police chief. I just wanted to share that with all of you. All right, and I'm almost done. I took the metro here, the red line. It's great. And I was in Chatsworth last week, and I saw Hal Burnson's picture in the Chatsworth Railroad Station. Everybody take the metro link. That's it, I'm done.
Thank you. Mr. Mort Allen.
Quickly, I want to remind you, everybody, that how many viewers you have. I don't know if you've done a Nielsen rating. Everybody in the Valley is watching the council these days, and so you got to really be careful. I just want to say a couple of quick things, very quick. One is, I know it was an item, and I shouldn't say it, but want y'all to remember the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences in North Hollywood has a 700-seat auditorium with a satellite feed, and you could have 2, 4, and 7 meet there. I know they'd let you do it. They're very open. There's 2,000 parking spaces, and I think that would be a perfect meeting space in the next few months. All right, I just want to, two things. I don't know if it's going to get announced, but tonight at 6:30 at the CBS Studio Center, we're going to have a meeting to save the Studio City Golf Course. And it's really important that everybody that's listening to this on television comes out there tonight. You get to see a TV studio for free and cover an important issue. The last thing, in the Valley, even though I'm against secession, this is a perfect time to get what we need. We got the Sherman Oaks Pool closed, the Studio City Rec Center closed, the Northridge Pool closed, Ventura Boulevard doesn't have curb and sidewalks, and I think instead of all the negative rhetoric, it's really important that the committees get on to getting the services back to where we belong in the Valley. All right, last thing is, we have two very famous restaurants in the Valley, La Loge in Studio City and Casa Vega. Casa Vega's been there for 55 years. It is the #1 spot. You can ask Dennis, he's there every Friday night. And I want to introduce one of the two owners, Rick Chavera, from Casa Vega, who came down to see it.
Welcome.
Okay,
Thank you, Mark. Our final speaker is Bill Murray.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Bill Murray. I'm with Los Angeles Community Policing. I wanted to come to the council today because of one of the agenda items, but I also heard a couple other things. I'll keep my comments very, very brief. First of all, my background is in film and television. I have a 25 or 30 year, I've lost track, year experience in the film business. Most of the time behind the camera. I agree that we should do everything we possibly can to encourage the film business to stay and thrive in Los Angeles. I think that is, among other things, but probably the primary reason that Los Angeles has the visibility that it has throughout the world, and that it's very important to protect that. So I commend you for I ask you to go further, but I commend you for what you've already done. Secondly, I have an idea for you. I happened to go to the University of Toronto many moons ago, and in Toronto they have a crosswalk system that's very easy to understand because there's a responsibility on the part of the pedestrian in the use of the crosswalk I'd like to let you know about, which is that they must hold their hand out. It's very simple, and indicate that they are about to cross into the crosswalk, and they are not to cross into the crosswalk until the traffic has stopped. It's very simple. It requires no extra stuff except, of course, an educational campaign and the requirement to do that on the part of the pedestrian. Right now, we require the car to stop, but we have no responsibility on the part of the pedestrian. And perhaps this would be something you could consider. It would be very simple. Just ask the pedestrian to raise their hand to indicate they're about to cross the crosswalk, and require the cars to stop, obviously, once that hand is raised. Lastly, I'd like to congratulate you on the decision to take the community, the meeting down to the community. This is what I really wanted to talk about today. I am all for community involvement in every aspect of city government, including, of course, community policing, but not limited to that. I really love the neighborhood council process we're into now, and I think the city council's decision to take this out into the community, and hopefully some of those meetings can be at night, is another step in what I see happening in Los Angeles. And I congratulate you on taking that step. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murray. This concludes public comment for today's meeting. Mr. Garcetti, did you wish to be recognized at this time? Are there any announcements? Into the microphone, please, Mr. Labange.
Eric Garcetti was named by the Downtown News as the best looking. I call him the smartest, most handsomest, modest, hottest. See, I don't have my glasses. Hottest councilman. So I would like to welcome you to the council chambers. Where are these folks from right now? You're tourists here. This is the hottest councilman in all of Los Angeles. There's Pat Burney and her family. Welcome. Welcome in. And also in the, not to be outdone by being the hottest council member, Mr. President, Mr. Garcetti, in the great state of California, Janice Hahn was named by the California Journal, one of the top 10 women in all of California politics. So that's good hand around everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaBranche. Mr. Clerk, is there any housekeeping?
Motions for posting and referral.
Motions shall be posted and referred.
Council members' request for excuse. Councilmember Willie Thomas requests excuse on October 2nd for city businesses meets policy.
Mr. Willie Thomas is excused.
And Councilmember Burnson requests to be excused Friday, August 12th for personal businesses also meets policy.
Mr. Burnson is excused. The desk is clear. Any other announcements? Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, I just want to announce to you, on July 30th, we'll be taking planning land use and management on the road. We'll be taking it to the Alley Center Studios, Poetry Theater at 1201 West 5th Street at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday. The objective being that back in '95, the city did an assessment of how the planning department and building and safety was conducting its business, how friendly we've been in permitting procedures, how business friendly we are, how we've been able to address the issues of development and residential development, commercial. I'm revisiting that whole task. In my research, I find out we only went 48% of the way. I need to find out if we can get to 100% and get feedback from all the various stakeholders, neighborhood councils, homeowner associations, environmentalists, unions, financiers, developers, get their feedback and see if we can apply the kinds of adjustments to make this a business-friendly city and a neighborhood-friendly city. So that announcement I'm making, that's for July 30th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Announcements, Mr. Weiss and Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to announce that tonight at 6:30 at CBS Studios on Radford in Studio City, just northeast of the intersection of Ventura Boulevard and Laurel Canyon, Councilmember Gruhl, Councilmember Garcetti, and I will be holding a meeting of the Council's Arts, Health, and Humanities Committee, and we will be tonight at 6:30, mark your Palm Pilot, Mr. LaFonge, and we will be discussing an issue of critical importance, not just to Studio City, but of the whole southern portion of the San Fernando Valley, which is the preservation of the Studio City Golf and Tennis Facility, which is a beautiful treasure. It's a jewel of all of Los Angeles, and we're going to be meeting there with a number of people from the community as well as city staff to discuss just why it is such a special facility and to start to begin the dialogue about what we can do to preserve it. And that'll be at 6:30 tonight, CBS Studios on Radford.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Mr. Zine.
Before you go to that 6:30 meeting, come on down at 6 o'clock tonight. Sounds like we're car salesmen now, encouraging people to come out. The Board of Public Works is going to have a community meeting and information fair tonight, 6 p.m. at AGBU, Mongolian Demergian School, at 6844 Oakdale Avenue, Oakdale and Van Owen. The community meeting and information fair, Public Works, they're going to, I'm sorry, tomorrow, what am I doing tomorrow? You know what? There's no conflict, Jack.
Okay.
I was trying to get it done at one time. So continue to buy your cards from us at the City Hall. That's July 24th, and thank you, Mark, for bringing that to my attention. July 24th, tomorrow, 6 p.m., 6844 Oakdale Avenue. We encourage the people of the West Valley, the whole San Fernando Valley, the whole world to come out. Board of Public Works, and they will hear your concerns regarding public works issues. Pothole repair, Wendy Grill with her shovel. Thank you very much for pothole repair.
Other announcements?
And I just have one more announcement. Tonight, we also have, I knew there was something tonight, we have our first posse meeting. You'll be hearing more about that in the media, and our first posse meeting class is taking place tonight. We encourage people in the 3rd District to join the posse. Contact my office for that information. And that's it from the 3rd District. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you. And Mr.
Announcements, Mr. LaFonge.
I've got one more announcement. Our fire commissioners meeting tonight is at Fire Station 27, which is right in the heart of Hollywood there. The public is invited to attend. It's another part of the effort of many of our commissions to outreach throughout the city, and I think it's great that your land use committee is going out, and the other committee that you have tonight, Arts and Humanities. The more we're out, the better we are. But they're tonight, 6:30 for reception, and 7 o'clock at Fire Station 27, 1327 North Cole Place, in the newly realigned 4th District in the city of Los Angeles. Formerly District 13. I got one over Eric, the Rhodes Scholar, the hottest councilman.
Ms. Hahn for an announcement.
Well, actually, this is very exciting. I see a pattern here with our commissions. Actually, this Wednesday night, the Library Commission is holding its meeting in my district at the Alma Woods Library in Watts at 103rd and Compton. It's a great opportunity for people in that community to come out and talk about issues involving the library. And I think this really says a lot about our commissions, that they too are taking their meetings out closer to the people. And I think what we just heard now is actually very exciting about this, because many people would never be able to come to a commission meeting. So Library Commission in Watts, Wednesday night the 24th, starting at 6:30, 103rd and Compton.
Other announcements? Seeing none, I ask all members of the council, members of the public to please rise for adjourning motions. Thank you, colleagues. Let us begin with adjourning in memory of Thomas Baca Jr., father of Los Angeles County Sheriff Lee Baca, who passed away yesterday at the age of 87. Law enforcement runs in the family. Thomas Baca Jr. was a retired security officer for the Museum of Natural Science and History in the city of Los Angeles, and the Baca family certainly has contributed much to civic life in Los Angeles. I think all members on that. Other tributes? Mr. Zine.
Mr. President, Councilmember Gould joins me in the request for adjourn in memory of the two husband and wife that were killed in the tragic traffic fatality on Riverside Drive. Santos Mendoza and Florid Alma Estrada passed away on July 21st. Santos was 41 and his wife was 38. Husband and wife had just finished their work shortly after 9 p.m. in the area of Riverside Drive and Ranchito and Van Nuys area. On their way to the bus stop, they attempted to cross the middle of the street, were both hit and killed by a pickup on the eastbound Riverside Drive. Both victims are from Guatemala and have been residents of Reseda for approximately 8 months. Both victims will be returned to Guatemala for burial. They will be greatly missed by their family and friends. They are survived by a son, Brian, 14, and a daughter in Guatemala. They are also survived by a sister, Linda Gomez, and brother, Celso Sandoval. May they both rest in peace. This is myself and Councilmember Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Other tributes? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. Thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned.